absolutely 100% supposed to call this a comeback, arguably the most impressive comeback of the Max season so far. Guys, the Max are back in the Sweet 16, and that can only mean one thing. The Ball Habatim are back, baby. I am, as always, the bandwagon boy, aka the rabbinic intern of Max Nation, aka the guy behind the throne of Bob Quillman's meteoric rise to New York City chief rabbinate, your very own Ari Lamb. With me, as usual, is the grizzled vet, aka the former Mac, aka Grand Emperor of NCSY. Long live the king, the master of disaster himself, Natan Cohen.
Pleasure to be here. Pleasure to be here.
Now we're talking. We are beyond excited to welcome for the very first time the rookie, aka the Academy Award-winning director of your favorite Zevy Sammit highlight, aka Shmuel L. Jackson himself. Shmoo Rosenblatt. Shmoo, welcome.
Thank you. Great to be here.
And
Also,
of course,
former Mac, I'll just say.
Former Mac, right? That
different
is true.
sport.
You're surrounded. We're stuck in the middle with you. We're surrounded, Ari, by some former Macs, but not like these high flyers, maybe.
That's it. And of course, as always, technically, we have the one and only, the mighty Mayor Wiesel on the ones and twos, engineering us to the moon, I believe. And as Mayor always tells me to tell you, please like and subscribe to the Ball of Bottom on YouTube. And now we're back for obvious reasons. We're here in the Sweet 16. You guys, this is unbelievable. It's since we're going to be actually playing in the game, Mirza Hashem, this is unprecedented territory. Natan, what does this mean?
Yeah, I've been looking over my shoulder to see if there's any global pandemics or other things. Not that things in the world are so calm. We'll probably get into that a little bit later in the conversation. But really, it is somewhat unprecedented in the sense, yes, the Max team during the COVID short championship, did go to the Sweet 16, but never played. Right, pulled up, and the whole tournament was canceled. And so, to a certain degree, this is something of a retribution. Not really, in the sense of just being able to be here, right, finding yourself on the stage. This Max team is the only team out of the hosts from this tournament that made it to the Sweet 16. They're also the only unranked team at the start of this tournament to make it to the Sweet 16. So, in a sense, it feels good to be here for the first time or to play the game for the first time, even though this is 2 out of 4 Sweet 16, pretty good, 50%, right? But the biggest thing really it has nothing to do, right, with those seasons. It only has to do with those seasons in the sense of the program, right, that Coach Steinmetz and others and the fans that were part of it have built. But really, this is a Max team that is growing and learning on its own and has done so over a number of seasons with a cast of characters that some of them are brand new. So we're going to get into all of that. But this is just, what do we say? It's Shachianu Vikimanu Viganu Lazman Hazeh. This is, right, this time, right? We're into this time, and we have to appreciate this time for what it is.
Shmuel, what are you seeing about this team that just gets you excited? Like, what jumps out to you?
It's been amazing to watch this team grow over the years. Like Natan said, we have some newbies, we have some freshman phenoms, but the core team, we have 4 players who have been starting for 4 years and have been looking forward to getting to this point since then and have worked their butts off to get here. And each of them, and maybe later we'll talk about some of them in particular, have really grown and developed so much year after year. And finally, everything just kind of seems to be clicking. And some of the newbies are just fitting in seamlessly with them. It's been awesome.
I mean, I'll tell you, as someone who would never ever let a really good, perfectly functional bandwagon pass him by, I gotta say, it's like infectious energy. This feels like a team that just has a sense of purpose, a sense of destiny about it. Like, they've put in all the work. We've seen all these kids grow up. We've seen the crazy Zevy shots. We've seen the indomitable will of Max Zackheim. We've seen, the Dovrat Oselka mind meld. We've seen bench players step up. We've seen old guys. We've seen new guys. I mean, it just feels like there's so many storylines that are coming into place. And who knows if it ends here, but this does feel like it just feels meant to be in a way that it hasn't in many seasons. Like, this really just feels fun.
Yeah, this I think there's a reality to like the first weekend of any tournament in the sense that like if you win the first game but don't win the second game, it happens so close together, right? Like you're really trying to get through. And I think we've heard Coach Steinmetz and excited to ask him when we can about the prep, right? You almost like prep for two games at the same time because you know it's coming, right? You can't get sort of that full piece, and so getting through a first round of the tournament is really it's just you feel and you can see it with the guys last night. And you can see that they talk about that band of brothers mentality. I mean, every team talks about that, and we know the Macs have had their ups and downs like everybody else in that environment. But this team really is, and they talk about playing for each other, and they celebrate with each other, and they commiserate with each other, and they support each other in a way that's just really it's great to see. I think the fans appreciate that. The coaching staff talks about it, and it's impressive. And so seeing them celebrate, have the opportunity to be there, Friday, and then again on Saturday night to see the big win. It was they're just elated for each other, celebrating with each other, and the families, right? Like meaning, it's not just the team. They go out to center court, and then what happens? All the families from the sidelines, all the kids, everybody else, right? Aunts and uncles, and it's like we talked about this. Like this team is different. I'm not sure. Maybe it's like this everywhere else, right? Maybe it's like this for every team. But these kids were in our communities. We know them, right? We're connected to them. And I know, shout out to Jack Terrell.
It was such a great point.
Is a great point. Like we've
in our Habatim group chat, Jack had this amazing point.
It was awesome. It was awesome. It was really great that we have this connection. We see them play in high school. We've heard about them coming up. We have the wait. Are they going to go shun a bet? Are they coming back? Are they going to play? Right? It's just like it goes for years and years and years, and it's not about leading them anywhere else than where they want to be or where Hashem has them, puts them and where they're supposed to be. But it's different. It's not just, they got to our college, right? I'm an alumni of YU. It's not just because they came to YU. We knew about them before they got to YU, and now that they're here, you get to celebrate the culture with them, right? And the culture that's been established has been tremendous. But it's the religious culture also, right? The Jewish culture that they came into and decided, I want to be a part of this nation. That's just a tremendous thing.
And speaking of Jewish culture, so I think it's about time to bring in our first guest, yeah? All right.
Well, let's do it.
Well.
What's up, guys?
It is very exciting. We are here with a very special guest. We're so excited to welcome onto the pod, the Balabatim, the Dark Knight of Teaneck, aka Chrain Gillis, aka Uno Reverse Ari Shafir, aka Beth Abraham's Fancy Boy, aka the reason I walk around American Dream Mall like I own it, aka the Max Stern Athletic Center's very own Spike Lee. He's the Rebbe of YU Celebrity Row. He is Dovie Neuberger. What's going on, Dovie?
I'm just processing that introduction. No one's ever been that nice to me. I think I'm blushing.
I'm very well known for my timidity and my restraint. So, I'm glad to have you here.
The show's called
warm hugs. Everyone's got to, again, got to know you and feel you. It's been amazing seeing you on the sidelines, Dovie. Up and down last night.
I almost got they told me they were about to throw me out of the gym.
First of all, what's that story? That's amazing.
Well, I had a show last night for YU, which was a little bit of a conflict. I don't know, scheduling, but I had a show for YU, and then I had to run from the show to the game, and they were sold out. They didn't let me in. Big shout out to Julie Schreier and Greg Fox, who came to argue.
Julie Schreier,
love them. They're great.
Shouts.
They So they got me into the game, and then I got there, and I'm obviously getting hype, and I'm running up and down the sidelines because there's like the cool, fun high school kids on the side getting nuts that I'm with, and then there's like the dead ball about him section that's like if we're into it, we're not. But so I'm trying to run up, get everyone involved, and I think the commissioner, I don't know who he is, but like one of the guys that's like always at the games, at the Skyline games, came up to me and he said, the cops just told me that they want to throw you out, but I told them that. He's like, you're not at YU. This isn't a Max. You don't get to go on the floor. Like, I love how he knew that, like, because I thought it was like Hamish that I could just run on the floor. I wasn't on the court, but I was running up and down. And I guess I'm just used to the Max. Like, there's no rules. And well, then I stayed off the court. I like how it's called the ball.
The court's for everybody. The court's for everybody. At halftime, it was just like the Max Stern Athletic Center. Everyone was crossing the middle of the court to get out to the bathroom, maybe to see a pretzel they weren't going to have, but whatever it was, they enjoyed it.
As far as
Right.
I'm concerned, the court is a Rosh Hashanah. Like this is what are we talking about here?
I don't think I don't think the like Montclair State faculty was used to the fact that like the same way anytime I do a show and I'm working with a venue that's not a Jewish venue, there's someone comes into the green room before every show and they're like, there's 50 people outside that don't have tickets and are locked out that all say they're your uncle. Like the Montclair State is not used to like everyone feels they can go on the court. Like I know him. Like Zevy's like he was
Right.
in my nephew's class and they're like I know him. I know him. Like I need to talk to him. I need to tell him something. I need to tell him to roll around the screen to the other way because they're not cutting off that side. Like they're not used to that because most of the fans like understand the etiquette that you don't interact with the players. But
I love the idea of Montclair State just having to deal with people who are like, no, 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 we pray in the same synagogue. Like, okay,
right,
what does it even mean? Who cares? Dovey, how did you get into the Max? Like, what was that whole journey?
I knew this was gonna be asked. So I don't understand. You're asking how much of a bandwagon fan am and I think a lot less than people realize. First of
Just
all,
to be
okay, so
clear, by the way,
Yeah, we're pro bandwagon. We're
I
very
am
pro
the
bandwagon.
bandwagon fan
I
of
remember
anybody who's ever
when
followed the
ball
Max.
volume.
Yeah.
So I my first Max game I was at was in eighth grade. I mean, I was like growing up. I remember listening. My dad would drive me in, and I would listen to Nachum Siegel, Jam and Nahum, and he would have the updates from like Ushi Sullivan on the Max. And I was like a little kid. Then in high school, like my dad was a Rosh Yeshiva, and I was staying late all the time, so I'd go to a ton of Max games, and that's when I got like more into it because it's kind of like that's when the tide kind of like started shifting a little more. Where it was like it used to just be a bunch of recruited Israelis that I never heard of. It was fun to watch because they played for YU, and then like when I was in high school, there's already kids like from the Yeshiva League that I watched in high school that graduated and came. Like there was like Yisrael Feld and Shelby Rosenberg and Benji Riddle. It's like people I watched in high school were now playing. It was like more fun. It was like I didn't know them, but I knew them, and that. So I started following then, and like that was the end of the Halpern years into the beginning of Elliot Steinmetz. I was always like I was living in the Heights, so I'd always like go to games. I liked it. I was like on and off vigor, and then like I got very into it. This season, I actually think I timed the bandwagon in terms of my like passion well. Like I remember being at the game. I was going to games the whole season before Gabe joined the team. Gabe joined the team halfway through the season. Gabe
Mhm.
Leifer. I don't remember the year, maybe like 2017, something like that. And the season wasn't going well. I remember the turning point. We were down by like 25, 30 points. Like Simcha Halper was the big star that year. And Yoav Deitch came into the game. Elliot was like very frustrated with the team, and he put Yoav Deitch in the game, and he turned around. We had like a 30-point comeback. I forget the team, and that's like sparked like what I would call like the New Testament Max, what like the new era Max. And then Gabe came halfway through the season. We won our first conference championship in Farmingdale. Ryan came. We had a little bit of a disappointing season next time. Um, but I kind of got on that, and then when I moved to the Upper West Side, I fell off a little bit because there was like a little bit of a lag in between Ryan and like when Zevy really like blew up. But then again, like since last year, like last year I was at a championship game, and then like I was following even in the off season, like talking to Elliot here and there, and like telling him I really wanted to become the Spike Lee of YU ball. So this season I was like really with. I wasn't at every game because I had shows like every Saturday night, so it was hard. But I'd be in the green room. I was in a green room in Boston, the Little Truck Boston. It's a comedy club in Boston, and I was watching a Max game before I was headlining a show, and people come in and they're like, "What do you watch? Like, are you watching the NBA?" I'm like, "No, the college." Like Duke. I'm like Yeshiva,
She, of course,
Yeshiva. I'm like it's like the Duke of Jews.
the little
It's like
dude, little
yeah.
dude.
It's such like degenerate behavior. Like watching D3 YU basketball in the green room. I absolutely love it. What's been your favorite storyline of this season so far?
Favorite storyline of this season. Um, One thing I love, like I like to tell Zevy that I trash talk for him, and this is the line I use.
It's like the
I
Obama
like
translator for Key and Peele.
Yeah, exactly. So I like when like because like as much as it's D3, all these kids they're competing against competed at a high level. A lot of them went to prep schools, got recruited, played with people in high school that are Division 1 and go to the NBA. I like the as much as they like obviously scout Zevy and see him and know what he could do. I like when they play a new team at a conference and like you kind of see it settle in. Like what's going on. Like I like watching a very athletic kid from Farmingdale that's been playing high level basketball his whole life and like not be able to guard a kid that finished Bubba Kama last year. That is what I love. Like that
by
is
the
the
way, I
story.
was gonna pick that Farmingdale game because that's exactly I remember. What's his name was on with Conroy or whoever was the guy, their best player, and he was trash talking Zevy after he did a shot at the start of the game. Next thing you know, and Zevy just nothing seems to phase him. He got a little bothered in these last couple games with some of the the grabbing and the holding and the offensive fouls and the connections there, which we can talk about. But it's unbelievable. And then by the end of the game, there's no talking. It's just they've just gotten rained on. That was the game that I think they won by 20 something. That kid he lost all his mark because you can't get inside him. You can't. It doesn't seem to phase his game.
And the
Right. So
commentator
that's a storyline I like. I'm trying to think of otherwise the way I see volleyball, like any progress in life, like anything that progresses, like if you see it on a graph from afar, it looks like this, right? But it's really a dip and then it go higher and then a dip and then like I think we're trending. So I know this team is like a bunch of seniors and we're gonna next year might be a little bit of a rebuild, but I think the way we're trending, I'm seeing a national championship in the next 5-10 years, if not this, like
Talk
obviously.
to him. Let's go. Come on. By the way,
Because
my favorite thing about
This
Max
year.
fandom is like we're an
We're absolutely
irrational
delusional.
confidence. Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely delusional.
And you know what? Everyone's got to put up with it because we're like 90% of D3 Hoops fans, which is awesome. Like, it's the best. I love it. And by the way, I love how both tolerant but also like frustrated in a funny way, like people who really know D3 ball, like Bob Quillman
Bob Coleman, yeah.
and Ryan Scott and like all those guys, like who really know ball. We sound, not all of us, but many of us, myself included, sound like such clowns when we're talking D3 ball. We're convinced we can beat absolutely anybody. Not only beat, we can demolish anybody. And it doesn't matter how many times we're wrong because we're always right the next time. You know,
Right,
it's the
right.
best.
I mean, I was watching some Emory highlights last night. Those kids can. It's a little scary. I mean, I'm flying down to Atlanta. I have full confidence in our guys, but wow, it's another level. And Bob Quillman, when I saw Twitter after Shabbos that he looked for an Eitan Katz video to make that meme about
Amazing.
us.
We were talking about amazing. Chef's kiss.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because the amateur move would have been to find a video that had like no shaykhs to us at all, like Hasidim in Williamsburg or something dancing. But he went for the pro move of finding like Eitan Katz. It was like such like a sophisticated like Rishona Shatora. You know what I mean? It's awesome.
Insider baseball. It was a real deep cut.
Oh, hey, who's this? I didn't see you yet.
Hey, Dovie, what's up?
How's it going, man?
Hey, Shmuel Rosenblatt.
Oh, nice to meet you.
You met the rest of my family this week.
Oh, you're at Rosenblatt's son.
Yeah.
Oh wow, how many rabbi adjacents are there on the podcast?
Oh my God, I feel like
not on.
I mean, this is a full on like nepo baby podcast, which I love.
I work for NCSY, so like I got rabbis all around, but not familial.
100%.
One more thing about Bob Quillman, like I said this in my reel last night. I don't know if you guys saw it, but he was tweeting all Shabbos. If you look back at the tweets, he's like, "Oh my God, Yeshiva doesn't even know they're playing Farmington." I have to drive to the hotel and tell him. I'm like, Bob, I wish that was true.
It's like the guy, I can't remember who said this. It might even have been a bit from you, Dovey, but like I remember hearing a bit that someone's like, there's someone who comes into shul and he knows like a little, it's you, right? He knows a little too much about what just happened in Iran. Like, yeah. But that was it. Like someone came in and like knew we're playing Farmington, even knew they were from Maine, even though I know they did not know what this college was before we played them.
They were very much from Maine. Every kid on that team looked like they were Tucker Carlson's nephew.
The rumor has it is that they were staying at the same hotel, so we knew that night.
They were. I was there. I was at the hotel.
They had the hotel. So beautiful. Yeah. So that's what we had heard. They were staying at the same hotel.
Yeah, and it was obvious that they had won because they didn't. They
felt good.
They didn't leave. They would have gone home.
Right.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So I think that this season, there's obviously Zevy, like, he's such an eye-popping talent, and he hits, the kind of fadeaway threes that we haven't seen on any D3 team, but that, we haven't seen in YU since, the Terrell days. but there's so many other contributors. Like there's so many other people on the team who are just so lovable and awesome. Who's caught your eye this season as someone you just like watching?
Oh, okay. So first of all, after spending showers with them, my favorite Mac, and I'll say it shamelessly, Dotan is the funniest kid. I, I I spend the whole showers just like playing Settlers of Catan and code names with them, and I told him, I said, like, I can't be you in Settlers. You're Israeli. You're a professional settler. What do you want me to do? So,
It's a great bit.
I just like have a great like him. I just find like a really funny rapport with, and like once you start to know the players, like it becomes that much more personal, obviously. Um, Max, Max, Max was my camper in my chabura when I was a counselor in Morishah. So I've been watching. I went to Max's AAU game, Maccabees AAU game, on a day off in Morishah when he was in like sixth or seventh grade. So I've literally been watching him through high school until now. So like that's just been like a very nostalgic feeling for me. And obviously, like he's a warrior. Like like on any level, I just like play. Like when I saw him standing on the sideline with a broken toe, I didn't. It didn't occur to me that he was going back in the game. I was proud of him that like he was just staying there to watch the end of the season. Like because if that happened to me, I'm like crying in a hospital bed. Like I don't even want to see what happens. And I was like, he's staying with the team. And then when he comes back in, like I'm trying to think of like it was like Rudy coming into the game. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, it was like Willis Reed. It was crazy.
Willis Reed.
it was the Jordan flu game. It was everything.
And
So-
it legit pumped them up. Like
And
it
they
was a
needed
complete momentum changer. It was
They
nuts.
needed it. The offense had stalled completely. I mean, from the beginning, whether it hit the team that way, it became a lot of solo ball. Up until that point, when he came back, the movement started to move a little bit
Just
again.
the energy shifted. So I really like Max's story. Oh, Max has also like battled just like a lot of injuries throughout the years. You know, he like we had that whole thing in the beginning of the season where like because he got redshirted or didn't get redshirted 1 year at Brian, like he missed a couple games. I was really annoyed about that. So like it's really fun to watch a kid like him just like battle through everything and just like always just get at it. That's a storyline I really like. Um, and then the Israelis, they're hilarious. They're funny. They're fun to watch. They have their own brotherhood. They speak in Hebrew on the court. The other team has no idea what's going on. Like when Zevy told me, like when him and the four Israelis, like he's totally like he talks in English and like they ignore him because like the language has shifted to Hebrew. During their press game last night, the post game press conference, I was listening. Oh my God, when
They're
Yoav
hilarious.
was like,
It was so funny.
it was so funny when Yoav was like, they asked Yoav why if he if he feels comfortable playing in the post even though he's usually a guard. You heard what he said? He's like, I'm not a guard. I put guard down at the beginning of the season because I assumed someone would look at me and change it, but no one changed it.
It is cool to see the chemistry that he has with Dovrat because Dovrat we haven't seen passing like Dovrat since Gabe, and
Right.
and he seems to know where Elselka is on the court at all times. It's been awesome to watch.
Yeah, and it's also been meaning the fact that Dovrak could shoot threes just spreads the floor for them in a way where they wouldn't be able to win otherwise on the on this level. Like Yoav was playing bully ball the whole game last night because he's there alone because someone has to guard uh what's his name on the Yair on the perimeter. So they're just a fun group to watch. Everyone. Oh, Coach Ronnie, you guys know about Coach Ronnie?
We saw. I mean, I've talked to Coach Ronnie a few times just at the games, and then awesome saw that awesome picture of him with Tefillin and the post there. Tell us a little bit more.
Yeah, for bandwagoners like me, what's the deal with Coach Ronnie?
Coach Ronnie was an assistant, then a head coach at St. Francis, a D1 school. Then I think I don't know the timeline exactly. He was assistant coach on the iconic UNLV team with like Larry Johnson, like way back in the day. And he was a player development coach for the Wizards, like when Gilbert Arenas was there. And then, you know, he was there, then he was back at St. Francis. I don't know how he got involved with the Yeshiva League. Elliot told me he's known him for like 20 years. I met him because Beitler got him involved in like Jewish basketball and like JV Elite and jump shot and like all these and like
Classic.
Heller and then he came to MTA. I was talking about it on Shabbos. He came to MTA as an assistant coach when I was there, and I thought it was hilarious that he was coming as an assistant coach from the Wizards, where his credentials were like I was at the Wizards and now I'm an assistant coach, and he's like, who's the head coach? And we're like, Daniel Gibber, and they're like, what are his credentials? And we're like, He's an egg
He, li-
mogul. He's got a big egg farm.
he lives on Winthrop.
He lives on Winthrop.
Shots.
We got it.
Yeah.
You be the assistant though. We got it.
Yeah,
So who's the best guy to sit with? I mean, like I know you've been at a number of games. Who do you like watching a game with? Like who's good to sit with? And do you feel like, because you're always on the bench side, do you feel the nervous parents around you?
Well, I switch off sometimes wherever I feel the energy is needed most. Obviously, I like sitting with high school kids. I mean, and like because they're much less inhibited and they get much more lit.
More
it's fun
lit
to
than
be
Jack
like
Terrell.
what?
They don't get more disinhibited
Yeah.
than Jack Terrell.
Jack and Laura and Laura
Yeah.
and Laura.
The
Yeah,
best.
We need to bring her to Atlanta.
yeah. I'm trying to think who else I like watching it. Like on the bench side is always fun, is always like more like a who's who. Like there was that's like where the president sits. That's where like Phil Rosen used to sit in the owner's box. I call it the Mark Cuban Phil Rosen box. Like when Gabe was on the team. Um, I don't know. Like people. Honestly, people who are into the game. I don't like talking
Okay,
about.
I'm
Other things
sitting
in the
with
game.
you. I'm sitting with you in Atlanta if I'm there.
If someone if I'm sitting there and someone asks me so do you can you what happens if you go to like a non-Jewish club and try your Jewish material? I'll be like, dude, like are you even are you even supposed to be here? Like I will give your ticket to someone else right now if you're not locked in.
By the way, that's real Jack Nicholson energy. That's exactly what you're supposed to be doing. That's your
Yeah.
job. Who's like the guy that you like didn't see coming? I mean, for me last night it was Nate Jacobs. Like I didn't even know he was on the team, if I'm being honest. That's my level of bandwagoning. Like who are these and yet he had this unreal game. Like what's like a weird storyline you didn't see coming?
So the team now is actually like very similar. Like it's like impressive that we're making a run. If all the pieces we have this year, we had last year, and plus, like we had plus Freundlich and Orr, and I forget there's one or two others that left. So I think that's the piece I didn't really see coming. Like we lost key
Yeah.
pieces, didn't really add so many in terms of in terms of minutes. Like we added players that are going to play a lot in the future, but we're just performing at a higher level.
I
I
think
think.
Dobrot fitting into the offense so seamlessly has been pretty incredible. The motion offense, it's a tough offense to learn and really get comfortable. And the fact that Yair Dobrot has just
Oh, was he not there last year? I forgot about that. He wasn't.
no,
Right?
he's a
He's
freshman,
a
believe it
freshman.
or not.
Oh, right. Because he's like a 31-year-old freshman. I forgot about that.
Taking me back to
Right.
my days of Yossi Gev and Jackie O'Gary. Yeah, we're playing with where the wife and kids are at the game.
Yair Dovrat for sure has like 3 kids, you know.
I feel like the Israelis that come in are so talented. They provide professional. They played at such a high level, but all the fans are like just Westchester, Five Towns, New Jersey, like Yeshiva League dads, who like to us the team is like Zevy Sammit, Max Zakheim, and then 15 kids named Or Yotav. Like they're all the same to us, you know. Like every year it was like that. It's like whoever like the Valley kid and the Frisch kid who are on the team, and then 15 Israelis we don't know. But like it's fun to get to know them, and like they're great guys. They're great players. So I guess that I didn't. Yeah, I was following like the Zevy and Max storyline more, but I got a lot more invested in the I guess subplots also.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there has been a difference. I mean, I don't know if you've noticed it as much in the last 10 games. I think we've seen in the last 10, 15 games. Some would say maybe tied to the time when sort of or not being on the team clarified some roles, and you saw more efficient Doton play.
Right.
You saw Roy step up significantly into his role, and what he brings on defense and just solid play is what they need. There's some stars, and he always, anytime they kick it out down the shot clock, he seems to be making the shot, finding a way. The way he drove to the basket in this last game was fantastic. Again, he's the guy they usually put the weakest defender on, and he's been taking advantage of those matchups.
Right.
Do they, over Shabbos, do they talk basketball at all, or is it really all just like let's just
No,
we don't need to talk about that?
There's definitely a lot of basketball talk. I mean, like they pre-scout, right? So so when they find out they're playing Farmington, it's not like, oh, let's find out who's on Farmington. They have like contingency plans. So they're like talking about Zach McLaughlin and the like during Shabbos. there's no. It's the disadvantage I always thought they were at was that like okay they can't practice on Shabbos. That's one less practice day a week. It is so much more significant than I had realized. Like when Elliot explained to me like that you get one day basically to do shoot around and walk through with like the new information you have about the team you're playing. And Farmington is there in the gym at 9 a.m. doing specific practices for like implementing the information they scouted about the Max, and like we just don't have that. But there's chatter. There's a lot of Nishtan Shabbos Geretting, but it's definitely there's a nervous energy in the room, like not a nerve, but like an exciting adrenaline in the room. It's definitely not as relaxed as if like when I heard like they told me last year after they lost, it was like more of a relaxed party Shabbos, but here it was definitely there was like a tension building. I was nervous. I was nervous.
I always imagine, does it break into two kinds of guys on Shabbos? Everybody knows they have a Saturday night game, but there are guys who will go for the chillin' and the guys who won't go for the chillin'. That's all it used to be like. Is that like? Does anybody care about what they eat? Are there certain guys who are like, I can't eat?
Yeah,
that
I'm trying to imagine playing a bunch of like Episcopalians on a stomach full of cholent, like impossible.
Yeah, I mean, Zevy was really the only one eating cholent, and because like he was it was fully in Shabbos. I would at Dotan at Shalashudas, we were very much Dotan like at Shalashudas took a plate full of like real like purple noodles and egg salad and tuna fish, and like it just like looked like it looked like food poisoning in a bowl, and none of us were like, don't eat that, please don't eat that, like nobody wants that, and he's like this is light work.
Not a single person that has ever gone to the Sweet 16 has eaten that before a game, literally in the history of the NCAA.
And they shot 3 from 6, 3 of 6 from the 3.
Yeah,
some pretty clutch threes.
Yeah, he's a great shooter. Yeah. By the way, Nate Jacobs, as much as you don't see it coming because he doesn't play as many significant minutes this year. You have to remember like pretty much every kid on this team was at one point in their life the go-to guy on a high school team, right? The go-to, give him the ball, get a bucket, score on a high school team. So everyone very much like buys into the team and the process and their role. But in the end of the day, like they have like that confidence from a time when they were a go-to guy.
Yeah, I remember him. I remember him from Sarachek. I think it was the Fuchs, right? It's like he was fantastic. But you could tell that there's still, and that's the commitment it seems, and we hear this from other people, whether it's Baynash or others, in terms of how they keep working on him. The play he made and the footwork to take that, the layup that he took after a couple of
awesome.
and the guy
step
over
through
him,
was
awesome.
such
a critical that step through play, like that is him working.
Yeah, he absolutely got fouled too.
Yeah, for sure. That's him working on his game though. You don't go from it. He was comfortable and confident in those minutes, and that was like you said. He wants to be there. I think he played like that honestly every time he was in. I don't remember seeing him not play like a human pogo stick every time he's in, and just energy. They really held. That guy had last night Reynolds, who went 25-21 on Montclair. He had 12 points in the first 6 minutes of the game. He didn't score again until I think the 5-minute mark when he had a free throw of the second half. I mean, they really, really played big, and they're going to need a lot more of that on Friday. What's the thoughts on Friday?
I think the Macs sometimes have a tendency to play down to their opponents. You see that during the regular season once in a while, but they, at the same token, they have a tendency to play up to their opponents. So I'm hoping. Oh wow, sorry, that went out.
What happened romantic in here?
Yeah, I think my car lights went off. There you go.
So I know you're a busy guy. We we don't want to presume too much on your time, but so before you head out, first of all, prediction for the Emory game, and what's your message to Max Nation?
Prediction to Emory game. What are we actually? We're probably like I was talking to someone today. He said like with a healthy Max, we're probably plus 14. Realistically,
right. It's probably going to be in the mid.
Right, so obviously,
right.
My prediction is 120-30 Max win.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Max by 250 at least. Zevy will probably have 48 at halftime if I had to guess.
Exactly.
Listen, like I'm here for the ride. I have all the confidence in our guys, but I don't know. Surprise me. I mean, I think we've surprised a lot of people this season. I think like since since like they started making tournament runs that people have been surprised. So why stop here? No, realistically, it's not gonna it's not gonna take a perfect game, but it's gonna take one of our better games of the season, and a few things have to go right, and I think they will. And
Let's
yeah,
go.
listen, I take it from our own pod. I mean, everyone who keeps telling me, and again, I was talking to Ryan Scott on Friday about the challenge that Montclair State would present, and then we, found out that we weren't playing Montclair State. I mean, that's you're taking a number 199, Massey ranked team and beating a top 10. I don't think that's a bigger upset than if we beat Emory or able to take that game. So I think we're seeing it already happen multiple times, and I take a lot from that. I'm excited for that. Right. Excited to see us again. You go in with confidence, you play the game. I think we're right there.
Amazing.
My message. What was my message to Max Nation? Like, I think I said it like when I posted one of the ticklings, which I feel bad because too many people came to the game last night and got locked out. But like this doesn't happen a lot. Like Imlo Akshave Masai, you know what I mean? Like tickets to round trip tickets are like $200 to Atlanta. Like obviously everyone's got their own life. I'm like I don't have kids, so like I'm not putting myself in anyone else's shoes. But like tolls to the five towns with gas. Like if you're going to a wedding in Marina Del Rey, extra toll on Atlantic Beach, you're talking about $45. Like, like it's not that much more expensive than that.
Plus the ticket you get inevitably for not having cash to get into Atlantic Beach,
Of course. That you tell the Atlantic Beach Toll Commission that you're gonna go home and mail it to them. Of course. How many times did I tell them I was gonna mail them the toll on leaving a girl that I'm on a date with at the Allegria on the side of those so I could go in to get that envelope.
The Emory, I'm just gonna note that the Emory stands could hold significantly more than Montclair State. So hopefully no one from Max Nation will not be able to get in.
Right.
I think they have 2,000 or 2,500.
Right. But but some of the local schools are bringing their students.
Yep. Hopefully AJA. Actually, one of the players on Emory is from one of the local Atlanta schools. So they may come down also. Yeah, we all. Someone who maybe should play for us. YU, we can get him.
Listen, after the game, obviously Sorrell will apply again, but in the meantime, he's dead to us. So go YU.
Exactly.
Go Max. Dovie Neuberger, you are amazing. Thank you so much for joining us.
Dovie,
thank you so much for having me.
Really appreciate it. Let's go, Max. We got this.
All right. Thanks, Dovie.
Amazing, really amazing. I think listen, this is going to be. I actually think I'm a big fan. We'll talk about it in a little bit with our next guest, but I'm a big believer that the Atlanta community, which I actually is near and dear to my heart, been able to spend a couple of years there now for first tournaments the last couple of years. That community will show up and they will show out for Max Nation. They are fantastic, and it's really a beautiful community. Like I think there are 3 shoulders in the Togo Hills area. You got multiple shoals in the same block, and the community is really like connected together. It's really a beautiful thing.
I gotta say, one of the cool things about that game was Nate Jacobs. Like again, it sounds like people kind of knew him if you followed Sarachek, if you follow the Max. For someone like me who just kind of like hopped in, it was amazing to see this kid come out of nowhere. Like when they called his name at first, I thought the announcers misspoke. I had never heard of him. And all of a sudden you had this kid playing lockdown defense, rebounding, and showing footwork, showing hustle, penetration, shooting. Like he could do everything. It was an amazing thing to see.
Yeah, it was an amazing breakout game for Nate Jacobs. He grabbed 7 boards in the minutes that he played. He had only played 1 minute in the game before, and during the season, he didn't really get that many minutes. I think for the people who had been watching him, you could tell he was, he obviously is an incredible talent. He always was really good at ball handling and will be, an excellent Mac. But to see him step up in that kind of game when we really did need it, right? When Zachheim's out, we lose out on that energy, on that defense, that ball handling. It was really great to see him. And I'll just say that I live in Cleveland right now. And
let's go.
Nate, I don't even know Nate, but he is a celebrity here. And every game, I talk to people here and everyone says, we want to see more of Nate Jacobs in the game. And then every time he gets in any game, I get a bunch of texts from his coaches and, a bunch of people in the community like, what, you watching Nate? You watching Nate? And I will just say that he is known in this community as having one of the best and hardest working sort of work ethics. Um, and that throughout high school, his coach told me that he would get up at 6 in the morning to get his shots up every day. Um,
The Baal Shem of Beechwood. Let's go. Come on.
yeah, and he worked hard, and it wasn't a guarantee that he would be able to sort of do what he's doing, and he was committed to it, and has just really been working his butt off, and I'm sure he will continue to work really hard because people like him and people like Max, it's in their bones, and um, he stepped up when the Max really needed him, and I hope that we will see more of that in the this next game and in the years to come.
One thing that's cool is so he was a Sarachek guy, Nathan, is that what you were saying?
Yeah, he was I believe he was a star player when he came in. I mean, he was the featured guy.
So
on one of the teams.
So Fuchs, I mean, I don't know how it is in Sarachek nowadays, but usually when I've watched Sarachek, like Fuchs is not in like that top bracket where they're gonna win the whole thing. So to see a guy who's the guy,
I think I saw them at like 8:30 or 9 in the morning with Avery Joel or somebody. I think
yeah,
I think they won. They won tier 2.
Right, but it is cool.
Which is a big deal, but yeah.
But still, it is cool to think like when you're watching Sarachek, like everyone's attention in the moment is on, like the DRS and the Eula and the Shalhevet and whatever. And those guys are amazing. Like it's cool to see Johnny Dan on the team, but to know that you can be the guy on a tier 2 team or a tier 3 team or whatever it is, and then really play crucial NCAA tournament minutes for the Max is awesome to think.
Yeah, let's talk about it. I think we can go even a little deeper here because the truth is, like, 10.7 boards at this level, right, at this time of the season, that's a great game at any point in time. But we're talking about a guy who averaged less than 9 minutes a game. And he, in the whole season, right, against, we talk about, or we don't talk about
I was surprised he came in instead of Shanzer.
Well, I think the matchup, and I think we were talking about that a lot of next, the exclusive shout out to Ariel, another from the Ball Habatim, who we had the exclusive sitting next to Ariel last night at the game. We were talking, that was one of the things among many, which we could talk about in terms of moments during the game last night. We talked about that, and I think the matchup was just better. First of all, you already had Dovra out, right? So when he came in, you already had Yair was out with 2 fouls, right? So you lost some size, right? So you're going to somebody with a little more size, a little bit more rebounding. 2, this is not a big team. It's not a big interior team. We talked about it a lot. Even when they beat Montclair State, 96-84, and even their big had 25-21, they had 0 blocks on the game. They can fight for the rebounds. They're definitely a blue collar team, but they don't really get up there and block shots. Bates was much more of a blocking threat than we saw out of Farmington. So I think the real challenge here was to be able to put someone in, right, who has that kind of ups, who has that kind of game, and can really bring the energy, but also help us on the inside. But he played 23 minutes. A guy averaging less than that to come out and play 23 minutes. Again, just to put it in perspective, those were huge minutes for Yair, but they were also huge minutes for Max in the second half to not have to play on that foot. Max only played 18 minutes. All right, so for him to come in and put that kind of thing, and then what we didn't expect, I think this is 100% true, what we didn't expect, I'm not surprised he got those minutes, I'm not surprised he got those rebounds, but 5 for 7 from the field, the efficiency, the putbacks, the keeping possessions alive, right? He had 7 rebounds. 5 of those were offensive rebounds. Right?
Yes.
They were offense where he kept possessions alive at key times. And really, there's nothing that breaks a defensive team's back more than offensive rebounds. You have to work that shot clock again. You have to hustle. And those guys were, we were tired. Those guys were dead tired. By the second half, they really did not have a lot left. And really, to have someone like Nate come in fresh and play the way he did really, really changed the game. But I think that's why I think the matchup really laid itself out for Nate Jacobs. Instead of a guy like Shanzer, who's great, but he's not going to come in and stop McLaughlin. So there's not really anybody that he needs to play other than that.
I love the confidence from Steinmetz too.
Great point.
He knows his play.
Able to put in those kinds of guys in those moments and know that they're up to stepping up to the occasion. And I think it speaks to Steinmetz and his understanding of the guys in the rotation, that he could do that without hesitation and be confident.
And probably lets us give a shout out also to the assistant coaches. I think when you make a call like that, you're probably even making that call to a certain extent in pregame, in certain who's going to be our first guy in. What if the situation presents itself, right? What if someone gets in foul trouble, right? Where are we going? And I think that it's a great assistant coaches on the team, really, that we've seen over the years that really know these guys, like you said, right? It's Coach Elliot, but it's also it's the full staff, and the staff is really into it. And I think whatever they could in the scout, and they figured out who was going to play. And by the way, then he executed, right? They put him in the opportunity, but Nate really made the most of his opportunity. You don't know what it means going forward, but honestly, without, you see, look at the scoreboard, you say, okay, well, by 23, without Yoav showing up the way he did, without Nate showing up the way he did, right? That game, that was the craziest thing. It was 35-34 at one point, right? McLaughlin hit that nice three. He was making a comeback. It was 35-34, and then we went on a 28-4 run that spanned the end of the first half. At the beginning of the second half, it was crazy. Honestly, it was. I'd never seen a run like that during a game at that level of time, and just over and over and over again.
By the way, we haven't even talked about the velvet yarmulke elephant in the room, which was probably Zevy's worst game of the season, and somehow it didn't seem to matter because guys stepped up. And look, Zevy's entitled. Who has been more essential to this Max run than Zevy and Zach? But we've seen theatrics from him that I haven't seen in Max games in my entire life, and yet, this game, when it happens, Zevy just didn't have a shot or whatever it was. A guy stepped up. It was awesome to see.
Yeah, especially that every single team's entire scouting is focused on Zevy, and they pay their respects to other people. But it's how do we have every team has a Zevy problem, as Bob Coleman likes to say.
Yeah.
And in this case, what they were playing tough on him, but also it just wasn't the night that he had the day before, and for whatever reason people have that, and yet. Yeah, the rest of the team kind of stepped up, and they still looked like an NCAA caliber team.
I have to say, Zevy showed maturity. So, there was a point, I'd say, in the, end of the second, beginning of the third quarter, where, sometimes what they'll do is they'll bring the ball up and they'll, either dribble handoff to Zevy or find them on the wing. And then he kind of just takes his man one-on-one. He's got that, classic through the legs dribble. He's got a great handle when he's sizing someone up for a three. He'll either do the step back or he'll, hit the fadeaway from the corner. And he's just trying to find weaknesses in the defender's armor. And he was trying to do that a lot. He'd kind of take those things in the second quarter and the third quarter. But as the game went on and he kind of saw that people were stepping up, he was setting picks, he was running, and his off-ball movement is generally great, but he was very active in trying to create space for the other guys. And I thought it showed real maturity on his part.
Yeah, I think first and foremost, Ari, just so you can prepare yourself for the comments, in college basketball we play two halves. We don't play quarters, so so you can get ready for those.
You can see my level of fandom.
Yeah, exactly, but it's all good.
Fully proud of this.
It's all good. 90% of the audience is like, yes, no, that's what I saw the same thing. So,
by the way, it is funny you say that because in my head I was guesstimating what the second and third quarter was.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's all good. I mean, the fun thing is, by the way, I think it's a huge Yeshiva advantage, or any team that doesn't have, I would say a 10, 2 lines that they could run through. The NCAA and the way they play it is you're going to have just like the D1 tournament, right? You have the under 16, under 12 every 4 minutes, right? On stoppage, you're getting the timeout, right? And I think it helps our guys a little bit in terms of recovery. But you're absolutely right. I think what we did see with Zevy, I agree with you, and I think calling out specifically, I think one of the times, right? Maybe there was a bump on the arm, or maybe sort of like a close cut of the pick, but air ball off of a step through in the first half where things were coming down. So there were a couple plays that just didn't even look good, right? It seemed like Zevy was pressing a little bit. Then he realized he can get back in the flow game. Again, it was still a tight game at that point, so I can understand it. But then there were shots from the corner, wide open threes, other things as well. What's interesting is it's crazy because if I didn't, I would just be like, okay, Zevy had 4 points, so we ended up winning anyways. You go back to the scoreboard and he has 16. He shot
that was nuts.
He shot 5 for 7 from 2, hit 5 free, all 5 free throws. He was 1 for 10 from 3 and didn't hit those shots that by the way, if he doesn't hit those shots, or even take those shots in Bates, we're not even playing. Meaning, like,
Yep.
dude is the reason we're there, right? Is a huge reason we're there all season. But it to me, if Zevy had the same game that he had against Bates, and we won, and now we're gonna go play Emory, I'd be like, oh, we're in trouble. I actually feel more confident about the upcoming game because of how we played, because of what we played through. And yeah, Max's health is significant. It's really important. But we couldn't go in there with Yoav not feeling confident, and he needed that game to feel confident. We couldn't go in there with a guy like Nate or Dotan. Right? They need to see success because we're going to need some of that. These guys are going to really test our conditioning, which we've seen already in the first two games. It's a different level, right? And they're playing with a different level. So I'm really excited about that. But yeah, 16 points at the end of the day.
Yeah,
and we're saying that's like his worst game, of the season. It's crazy.
I think if you take out his 3-point shots, like you said, the 5 for 7 from the field, and then the 5 for 5, but just in general, I think you saw a lot of the maturation of Zevy and sort of the other aspects of his game over these years. He's not just, yes, he's one of the best shooters in the country, but his inner game has gotten much better also. His cutting over the season, his ability to take it to the hole, to go left, a bunch of different things on offense to set the picks. We've just seen him take it to another level this year and round out his game, not to mention the fact that he's gotten good at defense. Like,
Yes.
if anything, that kind of was a little bit of a liability or whatever. It just wasn't really a strength of his. And now he's a good defender now, like a legitimately solid defender whose conditioning, to your point, Natan, also has just been just top notch this year. And so it wasn't a shooting night, but still, it was an everything else night.
Yeah, that's why I disagree with Dovie. I mean, I think not disagree in the sense, but like, yeah, they are the same pieces. They're a lot of the same pieces, and we did replace some of the parts and really good players from last year. We talked about this in the chat a little bit. The growth of each one of the core players, we've seen growth, whether it's Zevy's conditioning and just the play overall and the leadership overall and continuing right to build that team. I remember there wasn't, we're being honest, that talking 2-3 years ago, right, about, hey, are all the off the court stuff going to get in the way of the on the court stuff when people were leaving in the beginning of the seasons and other things like that? What was that getting in the way? And it's really, really clear that it is a essential part of the ingredients of the Max success. So Zevy's growth and Roy's growth and
Roy, I want to shout out, by the way,
is incredible. So I think every single one of these guys, even the ones that have been there before, are stepping up and into more leadership roles and playing as a team. I think in ways that we've had the pleasure of seeing grow almost right in front of our eyes. Sometimes that's even better than having an unbelievable talent like Yair come on and just like clearly there's a guy who is gonna. I mean, like you said, best passing since Lifer, and honestly, his court vision enables him to be one of the best passers I've seen ever play for the Max.
I think we need to give, particularly because they don't get talked about enough, Roy and Dotan their flowers. First of all, Sideshow Bob. Roy is when he started, he was mistake prone, and he just kind of was like some extra size. Now you see him make smart plays. He sets great picks. He cuts. He passes well. He rebounds. I mean, the rebounding on this team has, traditionally not been a strength for the Max, but this year they have rebounded much better. In that game against Farmington, like, we were dominating the boards. Without looking at the stats, I'm just going to go ahead and assume that that's what we were doing, but I think we were.
we kept Reynolds. I mean, literally kept the guy who averages 15 boards a game off the boards. It was unbelievable.
Exactly. Yep. And Dotan as well. Like, Dotan was, in the beginning of his career was sort of like this guy you'd almost like forget that he was in. Now, again, he's hitting big shots. He's making great passes. He's making awesome decisions. Like, just to see those two guys evolve into a core part of this lineup, it has been great to see.
The decision making, and also they're so much more careful with the ball at this point, and they're competent and confident when they're in. And it used to be, I remember 2 or 3 years ago, whenever it was when we lost to Farmingdale in the conference championship. It sort of felt like Zevy had a game. If he has a game, then maybe, but nobody else could really kind of get to that level. And now all of them have just really elevated that. Both Roy and Doton, they're clutch. They are smart. They just work in the offense. I don't know if it took a little bit of time to get comfortable in the motion. And just a particular, I want to talk a little bit more about each of them. But Doton, his role has shifted around a little bit since Dovrot came in, and especially in the, most of the season, he actually was playing way fewer minutes, but when he played, he was great and was really efficient, and his shooting has gotten much better. I think in the Skyline playoffs, in those 3 games and in these 2 NCAA games, I think Doton is over 50% from 3, something I think when I looked at maybe like 10 for 19 or something like that. He comes in, he changes the momentum, he hits those big threes. He's a strong defender. Sometimes I wish he would box out a little bit more. I think he could actually get more rebounds than I think he sometimes does. But I think overall he is a really good defensive player on, other teams' bigs.
He's been much more selective with his offense. I think much more. I think you hit the nail on the head. The efficiency we talk about as an offense has also been just. It's not just about shot selection. It's also been about passing. I mean, you look through in a game that was at some point sloppy on both sides the last game, and you look at the stat line, you see no turnovers for Roy, a guy who touches the ball almost every offensive possession. You see no turnovers for other guys in the line. It's just really impressive. Max, even though he wasn't in no turnovers for Yair, which is, by the way, unbelievable. Again, even though he sat, only played 23 minutes. But again, the guys that handle the ball much. This is a maturity. Doton's shooting efficiency, Roy's shooting efficiency, right? Again, over the time to be able to make the plays. A couple of them have been, and I think you said this a little bit before. Doton has almost felt when he needed I mean, like, there's been big shots. I go back even to the Farmingdale, the championship game. I mean, they're just big shots at big times in the game. It's been really, really impressive. And he doesn't get. I think in years past, he would hit a shot, and then you'd see him shoot the next 3 times down. Over the course of 6 possessions, he doesn't need to do that. He knows he's fitting into the role. He knows he can, but he's finding it comfortable, and he's hitting that baseline 3 with much more confidence than he used to be.
And because of that, a Doton 3 just feels like a backbreaker for the other team, or like a momentum killer for the other team. I can't remember what point it was at this past game, but there was one Doton 3 that just really reset the Max momentum. It was awesome. And I'll tell you, I mean, we talk about Zachheim. For me, the iconic Zachheim moment was in the Bates game. Obviously, there's the free throws to win it. But for me, the iconic moment was actually before the free throws, when you had that Bates guy try to ice him, get in his face and chirp at him a little bit.
By the way, I actually enjoyed that gamesmanship, and I love that Max.
I loved it. I know, I loved it also. I thought it was great. I wasn't upset. And honestly, your season's on the line. You have nothing to lose. Super smart. And I remember thinking in that moment, this kid, Zachheim, is the kind of absolute sociopath who walked on the court with probably a broken toe to finish off this game. Getting in his face like that is like the moment in The Last Dance where Jordan's like, and I took that personally. The second that happened, I had 0% doubt that free throw was going in. And
it was probably the reason that when he tried to miss the second one, it went in too.
I know.
Couldn't help it at that point.
I said that to my kids at the Shabbos table when we were talking about the game. I was like, he was so mad from that first free throw, from that trash talking, that he could not miss the second one even on purpose. It was great. It was such an iconic Max moment.
The first thing I said when the call was made, I was like, okay, the IWU game has there's another side. There's another side to that coin.
It's ticking.
People in the stands. I'm like, all right, we got it worked out. I feel, again, I always feel, listen, many people know I referee public school baseball and basketball, and then volleyball, which no one knows about, so you never get any complaints because parents don't know the rules. But it takes guts to make that call. Meaning, you're trained as a referee, right? In that situation, you got to be 100% sure, and you have to know there's a need for a call. And going back, and I think this was the chatter on Twitter was, how much time is left, whatever. But aside from that, you get a guy who's pushed. If he lands in bounds, okay, so you let it go and you're going to overtime. But he gets knocked out of bounds. It's someone's possession. You're either going to give the ball with
right. That was Matt Snyder's point. Matt Snyder's like, so what?
You're either going to give the ball to the team under their own basket. They can make a tip. They can do it, or you're going to call a foul. Rather, you have to call something there. Right? Someone's going to get an advantage, and to be able to make that call. I know the refs got an earful. They had to walk off the court right by the fan section of Bates. But again, it's just I think the referees have been fantastic. I know Max fans just sitting next to them, everybody yelling throughout the game, or Zevy being held and all these things going on. But I thought the referees, this time of year, you want the best, right? You want the best possible, and I thought they've been fantastic also. So just a big shout out to the Zebras who are doing, I think, real work here.
Speaking of, I think the through the first two games, I don't know if I'm assuming they won't be with us the rest of the way through, but the announcers for these first two games have been awesome. They know some of the deep Max lore. They know the Muncie Mamba nickname for Sammit. They had at the end of the Bates game, they had float like a butterfly, sting like a Maccabee, which I thought was awesome. They've really gotten into it with us, and I love it.
I'm at the game. Tell me more. I have to love the announcers who really get into it. Tell me more. These were the Montclair guys, right?
These were the Montclair guys. They did a spectacular job. Shouts to them. The pronunciations were as good as could be expected under the circumstances, right? There's Dovrat, there's they settled on. By the way, quick question: do we know how to pronounce Roy's last name?
I was gonna say that's the one that gets everyone. That's the one I've heard the most pronunciations for, even of our own announcers.
Yeah.
I was pretty sure it was Ishkovich, but I don't know. I've heard so many pieces here. We have to get him on to just be able to confirm what it is. And by the way, I'm sure in his, like all of us, right, in our history, where we come from, all these free pronunciations there too. So
I've never said it the same way twice, so I was mightily impressed that they picked, I believe it's Kovich, and just did that for the whole game and never deviated from it. It was great.
It's awesome. I saw them practicing our lineup in front of the mirror. They need to do that a lot, beforehand. They need to talk themselves into it. It's we give them some challenges.
I think they took some feedback probably in the beginning. I heard some Zevy Sammit in the beginning, or a few others, but they adjusted really well, and I thought we're really good overall.
Over the years, there have been some fantastic ones. I really actually appreciate the butchered ones much more than the accurate ones.
For sure.
I think those are much better, and you can get some lore out of it. That can be your name. It can be your name forever.
What's fun also is to hear the announcers who clearly know, they've looked at the stat sheets coming in, but they might not have ever actually seen a Zevy game or a Max game. And in that first game in particular, that first half, you just hear the commentators time and time again, just mind blown, as were we all, even if you had been watching Zevy for, 4 years now. Just, they don't really have words for it. They're just oh my, how many times could you say, oh my gosh, but it's always fun to see other people exposed to that for the first time and then have to.
I mean, Shmoo, you had the highlight clips of Zevy, his most ridiculous shots from that game, and you see the announcers at a total loss. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's
being in the building. I'm not sure if you guys can see this. I don't know where the camera angle where it was, but being in the building and looking across. So in game one, because Bates was the home squad, right? So they sat on where we sat Saturday night. So they sat on the far side of the court, closest away from the doors. So they looking at I'm sure the announcers are going, wow, the face of the opposing coaches when Zevy hits those shots. I really had not seen, because again, these guys hadn't seen. They only heard, right? Like you said, they only heard. They saw it in person. If the first one goes in, whatever it is, but actually the first one, he was stepping out of bounds. He switched that one too, by the way, at the beginning of the game. But he was stepping out of bounds in the corner. The first one under duress, the second one under duress. By the third one, literally, if he had a clipboard, he would have thrown it down. He was just looking down, didn't know. And it's tough. It's so, because again, you're looking at your coach, right, for the energy, for the hope, for the talk. And like when you see it, so I was very impressed with that Bates team. I mean, we haven't talked about that game. I thought that was obviously the score tells it too, but that was a much tougher game for YU. If Mac plays the whole time, maybe it's not as tough. But I thought that team presented much more physical challenges to our team, and will probably be more like what we're going to see in
At
Atlanta,
Emory. Yeah.
At Emory with really players who are going to go. I mean, having a 6'9" player, right? Like Babacar, what they did on Bates, you're going to see some of that similar thing with Eli Faust, who's 6'8" and who's a freshman. And
who's
again,
a
not
double
big
machine.
Again, double machine. Again, a big, just a big presence. That's not what it was like. Reynolds is a great rebounder, but he's not a big presence in terms of shot blocking and being in the paint. So we're going to start to see guys who can match up with us at every position where we don't have the advantage. So again, looking forward.
I'll just say I don't think he's a freshman, Ethan Faust, but he's definitely not a senior. I think he's a sophomore or junior.
It has him on the roster there, but again, we'll see what because he's a freshman from St. Louis from Clayton. But again, some of these guys played and then are classified as a freshman, but he's definitely you can tell he still has to round out his body. If he's listed at 200 pounds, maybe he's gotten bigger over the season. These are always at the beginning of the season, but that's where you may have an advantage or be able to push him out because again, he's not as broad as he is big. Not like we experienced with Tufts last year, which was a very difficult matchup.
I mean, as we get ready for our next guest, I think we should start to think about Emory. What is the challenge going to look like at Emory? I mean, they're the number 1 seed in our bracket, so obviously they're tough. What are the challenges specifically?
The senior backcourt. I mean, Samuel, if you want to talk about that, we could start it up. But like, I'm not sure there's a better backcourt in the country.
Yeah, I agree. I don't even know if that's controversial. I think that's that's just fact. I think in particular, I think Jair Knight is, I think, the single most athletic person in the entire division. He flies. The guy, you could just, I remember I saw him play in at Emory a year. My family, my in-laws and all my siblings-in-law are all in Atlanta. So we went to some Emory games, and they would just sometimes just throw up the ball and he would just fly and just alley-oop it. He's not that tall, but he jumps like nobody else in the conference. And then Ben Pierce is also maybe the number 1 player in the entire conference. He, I think, is number 1 maybe in assists and up there in points, averaging like 25 points a game. I don't know, 8 or 9 assists, something like that. They're both seniors. They have experience. They've been here before. They are good leaders. They are smart basketball players. I think they're well coached. And then they have other players too. And I don't know, not on where you want to sort of pick up on that, but
no, and by the way, you were right. Ethan is a junior. His brother Eli, who's on the team also and does play, he's a freshman. So they got 6'9", 6'8" brothers who are going to be there, which is always a wonderful story. But they've got size. I mean, they really going to match up significantly with us where we haven't seen that as much, and they have the experience, and they're there every year. I mean, like Emory is a top flight program. It's not like they're just having a great season. They're there in a tough conference, and they're there at the top every year. This year, they might be the best team in the building. And to give you a sense of some of their accolades, and people can go on and watch the games. Like you said, Ben Pierce just scored his in the last game. Just cleared that 2,000-point career mark, which is just, again, for those who know, that's there are not many that even get to that. I know Zevy is at 2,521 and counting, but it's just tremendous in terms of the amount they played. As we know, we beat Bates with like some people want to say some help, but we beat Bates by 2 on Friday. Again, it was early in the season at a tournament around Christmas time, but in their own home tournament, they beat Bates by 38. Right, so they were able to handle business and score and drop 104 on them. Right, so again, there are just, you can look at, they played NYU and they won by 12. Again, we also had success with NYU. They play good teams. They only have 3 losses on the season, and all 3 losses are to teams that are in the Sweet 16, right? Other teams in the Sweet 16. So they play incredible talent in their conference, and they hold up with that talent year in and year out. And this is definitely one of those years where they're among the top in the entire country, ranked number 2 coming in.
So speaking of Atlanta, we are pretty excited to welcome in our next guest, which is going to be unbelievable. We are really, truly, incredibly proud to welcome the Habatim's very own Southern correspondent, aka the Tati of Toco Hills, aka the Admor of Atlanta. He is the senior rabbi of Congregation Oratora, formerly in Israel of Toco Hills. It is Rabbi Adam Starr Shlita. Welcome to the Habatim.
Come true. My gosh, I can't believe I'm here. Unbelievable. Watching all these years. How do you make it to such godless?
Dreams do come true. Dreams do
come true.
Practice.
That's the theme for sure of these past few days.
So, Rabbi, what is it like having the Macs come to town? What is going through your mind as the Rav in the community, your mind as a fan?
Yeah. So first of all, I've been a fan for a long time. And when the brackets came out, I'm like, oh, this is a possibility, but come on. What's the likelihood? Okay. And then we find out Montclair State gets knocked off after Shabbos is over. Like, okay, that's nuts. That's totally crazy. Then the YU game starts when I'm watching the Emory game. It looks like Emory's going to lose. I'm like, for sure, Emory was at least, that was the given, that Emory was going to get there. But YU was the unlikelihood. And then it looked like Emory was not going to get there. And then that falls into place. Okay, and then YU comes up with a win. It was like literally like, there's no way this is going to happen. But I was like dreaming about how awesome this would be to happen. And now it's here. It's like amazing.
So what do we do? So one of the coolest things about YU fandom is that I think someone made this point in the Habatim group chat today. I think it may have been Simi. It's not that we travel well. I mean, we do, but it's that we have fans everywhere because we're a national and international community. So what is Atlanta thinking now that the Macs are coming to town?
The buzz is huge right now.
We're talking the buses. I love it.
And so first of all, the local day school, Atlanta Jewish Academy. The plan is, which trying to find work on logistics, 7th grade and up, going to be bused to.
Baruch Hashem, talking my language.
Okay, because this is exciting. This is a once in a lifetime thing. It's also Kiddush Hashem, and what I'm seeing, what's amazing, the breadth and depth of the Jewish community here. Okay, not just the Orthodox community. They're really taken by this whole thing.
It's amazing.
There's a woman who works in the Georgia State Congress. She's putting forth tomorrow, I believe, what do you call that? Not a referendum.
Like a resolution?
Resolution, right? A resolution acknowledging the accomplishment of Yeshiva University basketball.
Honestly, Georgia State Congress, it's about time. Better late than never.
Right. Our federation just put off a statement. This is something to celebrate in the midst of rockets flying in Israel, air raid sirens. This is something we can unite and have Jewish pride around. And it's just so cool that at so many levels, people are rallying around the message of the Macs.
So what is inspiring to you about this team? I mean, I know the team as a whole, but what do you when you think about this team, who are the players that jump out to you?
I mean, Zevy is Zevy. I
mean, we should talk about Zevy. What does it mean to have a guy like Zevy?
Walking Kiddush Hashem. I mean, it's amazing. A guy that has such talent on the court actually has a gift of transmitting Torah and ideas. It's not just that he learns. He has an ability to transmit Torah. That's our business, right? And he can really do that in a way. Frankly, I can't touch my teenage son the way that he can in terms of inspiration. I was actually going back to that at Kiddush this past Shabbos. All the high school kids huddled together. What are they talking about? YU ball. It was great. I could jump right in there and talk with them. Normally they're way ahead of me in these sports. I can't keep up. Here, I could hold cup. You know what I'm saying? It was awesome. Also, and I'll tell you what's inspiring to me is like all the connections. Like Max Zackheim, I went to high school with his dad Chaim. So Chaim was a great shooter. Chaim was the best ball player I knew in
Best
high
ball
school.
player.
Great ball player. Great, you know. I remember those days. Chaim's 1 year older than me. He was great ball player.
The Del Curry of YU basketball.
Yeah. And then Nate Jacobs, who was awesome last night. So my wife and I know both of his parents. We went to Camp Moshavah with them, and we're going to see them when they come here, and I'm going to see Chaim when he comes. It's like this awesome reunion, and last year, um, um, Effie Freundlich. Okay, Rabbi Freundlich
Rabbi
was an
Freundlich.
assistant rabbi here, and we're very close, and we would chat about this. It's just something about this community we build around these kids. They're really kids that are doing just great things and really representing the Jewish people beautifully, and their work ethic. There's something just inspiring about it, and I'll tell and their style of play. And Shmu, you can speak to this much more than I can. It's a pleasure to watch. It's unselfish. You couldn't pay me to go to an NBA game. No interest. You couldn't pay me. I had no
You
interest.
live in Atlanta also, but
Even
You've had to
without
deal.
Trey
You have to
Young.
deal with Trey Young forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this game it's a pleasure to watch. It's
I,
it's
I'm
it's
gonna.
beautiful.
I want to ask you about a point you made before, and I want to do it a little bit in the sense because I think it's again we live in a beautiful place where we can hold many truths right at the same time. We had to have for the past 3 years in particular. But just wanted to read a tweet. I think I just want your perspective in the role that you play and how you talk about this. And as a fan, Elliot posted as he often does. Right. While we have your attention, I'd like to point out we're here preparing for a stupid basketball game. Our friends and family in Israel are going back and forth to bomb shelters multiple times a day. As Iran and Hezbollah fire rockets indiscriminately at civilian populations, take a minute out of your day and pray for their safety and victory, right? So you have that on one side. And I actually saw another tweet from a member of your community talking about how, as you said, and as we all say, right, how much we don't feel this as basketball fans, right? Our connection is primarily not even, alumni driven. It's culture, religion, it's community driven. How do you sort of think about those things together and talk to people and even sharing the excitement, right, of them coming amidst sort of this backdrop that we've been having and continue to have?
Yeah, so look, this backdrop is with everything, and of course, our tefillot constantly need to be in Israel. I was asked, did I speak about the Max this past Shabbos? No, I didn't. There was one thing you had to speak about this past Shabbos. Okay, we have to keep things in perspective. At the same time, we are not a people that ever wants to be at war. We're not the people that wants to be fighting the crazy anti-Semitism. We're a people that wants Jewish pride. And this is an expression of Jewish pride and holding our head high. This is what I spoke about this past Shabbat. Kiti sat rosh. Raise our heads. That's what we need as Jewish people. We need opportunities to raise our heads as Jewish people, and people can connect differently. Of course, the learning and tefillah are the core of who we are. But to show that we can also be on the court and play as mensches and with sportsmanship and play at a very high level, that's Jewish pride. We need our young people to see Jewish pride, and we need us to have that as well. So for me, you need both. We can't just be the victims. We can't just be the ones fighting. We want to say we don't want to have to do that, right? We want to be able to stand proud as Jews in the world. And this gives us hope. And I think I read it. One of the responses to Elliot was a family in Israel, and I have tons of family in Israel running back and forth today to the shelters. They're saying, "Thank you for giving us something to root for and giving us hope in the in the
I got
miklat or the
pictures of the game on in
mamas."
bomb shelters. Exactly. Yeah, that's
Right? I'm in touch
amazing.
with I have brothers in Israel. I have a lot of family in Israel. They're huge Max fans.
Joshy Starr is my co-counselor in
Joshi
Camp
Starr.
Moshavah.
Joshi Starr is like King Mac fan in Israel. He's been trying to get on Balabatim forever, and I got on before he did. He's going to be upset.
I'll tell you, I think for me, what was probably the best Zevy moment of the year was hearing him in a post game be more excited about like he got asked by the sideline reporter, what was most exciting about that game, and all he wanted to talk about was getting guys on the team to keep Shabbos, and it was one of those moments where you see not just what's important to him, but you see that it is the very thing that makes him good at that makes him good at ball. And I think, those two things reinforce each other, which is to be good at basketball, you need to do the same thing over and over again, a million billion times, so that when it really counts, you could do it on the biggest stage possible. And the same thing is true with Torah. The same thing is true with mitzvahs. The same thing is true with tefillah, with Gemilas Chesed. You got to do it a million times every single day. You got to show up to night Seder. You got to show up to morning Seder, so that when it really counts and somebody asks you, hey, how do I keep Shabbos? You know the answer on the biggest stage. And I think that really is the Zevy Sammit story. I don't know if we lost the... I don't know if we lost the Rabbi Star here. We can...
We can hear you, but you may be a little frozen.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll just hop in quickly before
you jump in. Then I got something else once I get unfrozen.
Yeah, hop off and hop back in, and your screen will reset. Yeah, Shmo.
Yeah, I was just gonna follow up on that Zevy Sammit story because as you said, your favorite moment of the Zevy Sammit interview, I didn't even know where you were going with that because there were a bunch of different moments, and I think I told this to Natan, but I did want to just kind of share this. Just speaking to Zevy Sammit and his family and the entire Max Nation. But on Friday, I get a call or a message from Zevy's father, who is a big Max fan, obviously, and is there, but also a big Baal Chesed. And he said to me, he said, Shmuel, I know you're from Riverdale. I wanted to know, do you have any people in Riverdale who could help do a chesed? Normally, I help orchestrate with this elderly gentleman who delivers gefilte fish and chrein to his brother before Shabbos in the Hebrew home. But today, I'm taking that gentleman to the game. I was wondering if maybe you or someone who might be able to get this gefilte fish and deliver it to the Hebrew home. I am not in Riverdale anymore, and I shared that with one of the Max group chats, of which Rabbi Star is a member. And immediately someone in the chat said, my parents would love to help out. And
it's amazing.
Just give me the details. And then this Max fan, his parents went to the store. They went to the takeout. There wasn't going to get a jar. He wanted, fresh gefilte fish. He got this. His parents got gefilte fish, the horseradish, and they delivered it to the Hebrew home before Shabbos. And all of that was because that is something that, David Sammit helps orchestrate for someone else and was being mindful of it. And it just reminded me when you said that before, because I also remember a post-game interview when Zevy was just talking about the kind of person his father is and, the family, and his parents, both he was speaking about. So just kind of wanted to share that.
So actually, let me jump in right there if I can, because I got an email 15 minutes ago from David Sammit, who I've never been in contact with in my entire life. And he writes to me, hi, Rabbi Star. I see that your shul shares the same amazing name as Rabbi Sobolovsky's shul in Bergenfield. I wanted to say, if the plan at the end is for the team to daven in your shul, I always like to volunteer as a Baal Koreh. I lane twice a week in Muncie, and hence would love to lane when we travel. Looking forward to meeting you and the community. Unbelievable. 15 minutes ago, you got this.
That's awesome.
Unreal.
You want to know where it comes from?
Not surprised at all. It's just incredible what, like I said, I said this the other day. I would say a long-standing belief since last week. But basically just shared that I think what's going to go down, it's amazing. The moment that we're in, what we're seeing, the way, and I agree with you, Rabbi Star, I think the way in which the Macs are another place to galvanize the community around, and that community extends beyond the New York community, the North American community, and into Israel and into other places, and we see that and hear that. Zevy's legacy and the legacy of the choices that his teammates and others are making right now is going to have a much more far-reaching impact, I think, than the moments that are here. Even though those moments are significant and more than just the court themselves, the choices they're making, the choices to be actively Jewish is just tremendous. And being able to see that, hopefully we'll see that for generations and generations of what's going on. I did want to ask Rabbi Star, I have the good fortune, I would say, to have come to Atlanta for 2 years. My daughter was playing in the volleyball tournament to experience what I consider to be one of the, I don't think it's a secret, I think one of the best communities in all of North America, and really just not just tremendous hospitality, but really just a beautiful, beautiful community. Honestly, AJ reminds me of my school where I grew up in a day school in Miami before Miami became the New York of the South. It's beautiful, and pictures of generations and people who went to the school and just the legacy that exists. One of those, the Max might be they're doing their hotel thing. I'm not sure what's they're going to do. Talk a little bit about what the people that are going to come in, maybe even parents or otherwise, are going to experience when they come to Atlanta. I know give you an opportunity. I know you already shared. Right, there's a Google Doc people can sign up for hospitality, but talk a little bit about your amazing community.
Yeah. So first of all, they say Southern hospitality. And Hachnasas Orchim is certainly a strong Jewish value. So we combine the two together. That's really important to us. And we put it out there. People are coming and fans are coming in for the game. We'll host them for Shabbos meals. As you said, I think the team and the family are going to probably like be in a hotel, but we would do anything. I don't know if you guys remember Hurricane Irma, where half of South Florida came here, and our community opened up its doors for all of them. That's just who we are and what we want to be, and we're just really embracing this. Having so many that we're like the center right now. For me, it's fascinating because I thought I would never ever see Zevy play in person, this team or this group and here it is. It's amazing. Like, wow, they're coming to Atlanta. It's so crazy. But the other thing I wanted to mention is that you referenced this. There's twice a year we have tournaments. So for the girls, we have I think this past year we had 9 teams come for a volleyball tournament, but I call it a tournament Shabbaton because there's the games, but really for me the essence is the Shabbos piece where we build these bonds and these kids are singing and they're involved and they're engaged, and it's just amazing to see, and it's so inspiring. Nathan, you saw it, and it was amazing.
It was amazing.
And actually next week we have the flag football tournament.
The boys. That's right, March.
Yeah, so that's huge, and it's once again combining sports, but also we're here for a greater purpose. And seeing for me, the Shabbos piece is much more important than the games, and the way these kids grow together and their Yiddishkeit and the Havdalah and the singing is just amazing. I was actually thinking, can you imagine if the YU game was next week when we had all these schools coming in for this football?
It would have been nuts. It would have been a YU home game.
Yeah. By the way, it's already going to be a YU home game.
I love it
because Emory's on spring break.
Now Ashkacha Pratis is just out of control here. Like, come on, it's all lining up. By the way, speaking of, so I know we're running up against it, but I did before we wind down, I did want to ask you for your prediction in the game. Obviously, it's going to be an absolute slaughter by YU, but I did want to ask you for your official prediction in the game.
Oh boy! So I actually saw Emory play. It's literally
they're really
5 minutes from my house. That's how close the place is. Right. So I saw them play Chicago, and they were 1-2.
Oh wow!
I'm just gonna say, those boys are big. They got big muscles. They're big and they're very, very athletic. But you know what? We got something special. You can look at on paper. You can look at all those analytics, this and that. But we got something else going on.
As they said in Red Riding Hood, the better to wrap tefillin on, my dear. That's what the most.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Eila Varechav, Eila Vasusim Vanachnu with Zevy and Zakheim. So, wow. So Rabbi, what have been your favorite kind of subplots of the Max season? There, everyone loves Zevy and can see the fadeaway threes, and Zakheim is an incredible leader and just a dog. But what's caught your eye on this team this year?
Going back, it's just the unselfish play. Each one's out for the other. It's just really enjoyable to watch. It's almost like you're watching art here. It's not just talent. which is Elliot's huge coaching there, obviously. And you see a family. You see this is what we're all trying to create in community, right? We're trying to create working for a greater purpose, and you see this. You see this each one with each other's back and looking to make the other one better, because you make the other one better, the team is better. I mean, what an inspirational message for Klal Yisrael, if we can think more of it in that kind of way.
Yeah, with we experience this in the day job. It's like the one of the hardest parts sometimes is the buy-in, right? I mean, it's getting people to buy in, right? Everyone will nod their head, but getting to buy in and then actually create the behaviors that support, right? That mindset is the toughest part. To see this team and the way they do that, the way we were talking about before, they celebrate each other, they pick each other up, it's been tremendous. It's tremendous to watch, and I love it even more because when I was sitting there Saturday night, I see the stands packed with 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds, right? And it just for them to be able to see that, understand this is what, right? To equate success with that kind of behavior, to equate good play with that kind of behavior is definitely much needed. Right. So it's incredible.
And they're from very different backgrounds, and yet there's this sense of we're on the same team for a common purpose. Can you imagine if the Jewish people put aside our differences? And differences are important. We each have our own hashkafa and our strong beliefs, and we should maintain who we are, but maintain who we are and still working to better each other, each in their own way. I mean, that's what we need more than anything.
Tremendous. It's unfortunately there've been too many painful moments that have created unity. I think we just really are excited to see a positive moment, right? That we can celebrate together and that can represent us, be able to create that unity that you're talking about. That's a really great point.
Yeah. Atlanta's ready for the max.
Rabbi, thank you so much for joining us. Let's go. We cannot wait to celebrate an incredible victory over the hapless Emory, whatever their team name is. We cannot wait. It's going to be amazing. And I can't wait to also see the amazing Southern hospitality that you guys display when you welcome Max Nation into Atlanta next week.
Final score 6-13 to something. We don't even know what it's going to be, but it's going to be about that. Again, I can't tell everybody enough who's going to see this if they can make their way to Atlanta. Both as Dovie said and as Rabbi Star, you're in for a treat. I mean, regardless of the game, it's just going to be one of the best experiences you've had in the Atlanta community. It's really a privilege to be there every single time. So really enjoyed, and we really thank you for coming on and being a great representative. You didn't offer us any of that candy there. We'll figure that out for next time. But whatever, we'll make it happen.
Thank you so much, Rabbi.
Thank you for the honor of a lifetime.
Oh, baby, let's go. The honor is all ours.
Go text your brother.
Okay, be welcome.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have an incredible double privilege. First of all, we are welcoming on we used to call them one half of the bandwagon boys, but the truth is I have stayed a bandwagon boy, but Peter Pan over here went and grew up and is now the just absolute commander of Max Nation Twitter, Simi Cohen. We are unbelievable just to welcome the sage of Springfield. So the Wizard of West Hempstead. This is really just something unbelievable. And beyond that, we have with us the Grand Poobah, a.k.a. the Chief Justice of the Motion Offense, a.k.a. Sean Steinmetz's brother, a.k.a. Shayna Steinmetz's brother-in-law, a.k.a. the only guy other than Naftali Bennett who has figured out how to levitate a yarmulke on a completely bald head, the Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshiva University basketball, our coach, my captain, Elliot Steinmetz. Thank you so much for being on the Habatim.
What's up, guys? It's good to see you guys again. It only took a few years to get back together, huh?
No such thing as an over-the-top introduction here on the Habatim. So, Coach, what is it like to contemplate actually playing in a Sweet 16 game?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of people the last couple of days that are just like, or since yesterday, make sure you get your masks on. Everyone should start social distancing. Yeshiva's in the Sweet 16. You don't know what's going to happen. So, I mean, we're excited, obviously. It's a long time coming, and I'm hoping after this year there'll be a lot more of them, and they'll just become a regular occurrence. But definitely excited to have that experience, and really excited for this group to have that experience.
I mean, we've talked so much now, already about the season and the players and, the last two games, which were unbelievably exciting. But the real storyline behind all the storylines is the program. What has it been like to lay out a vision and see it, start to, I would say come to fruition, but I know your goal is a national championship. So to see it
Right.
start to come to fruition, what is it like to see a plan come together?
Yeah, it's definitely like it's rewarding, right? So it's something that I always set out when I started. I've said this many times in the past. I'm not a fan of the joke about the bar mitzvah being the time where the Jewish kid learns that he has a better chance of owning a sports franchise than playing for one. It's funny, but it's just not something that I've really ever subscribed to. I've always felt that there are natural barriers for everything, but until you kind of run into those barriers, you should be working as hard as you can to accomplish the goals that you can. There are some pretty good athletes that come out of our world, and we're seeing that a lot in various different sports over the last few years. I have the Israel baseball game on in the background. They got a lot of homegrown kids playing there that are up and coming minor leaguers and some major leaguers that are Jewish ball players. And obviously with Yeshiva University with basketball, it's been no different with the type of talent we've been able to get. And my goal was to really try to keep as much of our Jewish talent coming back to Yeshiva University to play as possible. I knew that meant I would hear no a lot when we recruit, and we do. We hear no plenty of times when we recruit, and that to me is a good thing. It means we're going after the right guys. Every so often, Ryan Terrell says yes, or a Zevy Sammit says yes, or whatever it is, or a Yair Dovrat shows up, and suddenly you're got program changing guys who are doing things that we've never done before.
My hottest take is that Ryan Terrell absolutely ruined Yeshiva League basketball for parents because the way it used to be was, like the third time you have to drive a kid to a travel team, you could be like, listen, I think we're gonna skip this game because what are you gonna do? You're gonna make it to the G League. And then Ryan Terrell, made it to the G League and now it's over because every kid's like, my ceiling is playing in the NBA, and
Right.
so that's it's amazing to see that we've gotten there. Really amazing.
Trust me, you
Yeah,
have
it's
you
a
haven't
wild
seen
change.
something like this until you do youth basketball and see like a 3 foot tall fourth grader make the too small sign after they score a basket. Like this is what we've created now, and it's fantastic and
I love it.
scary at the same time.
I hate that stuff, but it's just so commonplace now.
Your job is to hate that stuff. Our job is to absolutely love that stuff. So,
I spoke one year at I speak every year at the Sarachek tournament, and but one of the years I spoke, I was like I just had seen that going on like a ton during the tournament, and it was like these guys are all like they'd score a basket and they like they flex or whatever. I made them all stand up before I spoke, and I made them turn to the person next to them and flex. And I was like, do you guys see how stupid you look? You guys are like 5'10", like a buck 40 soaking wet, and you're flexing. You've never been in the gym a day in your life.
that's
We've had a
actually,
little of that in the tournament. Dotan did the too small. I think Yair
Yep,
flexed in the last game,
yep.
but
I hate
they
it.
kind of earned it with those plays. But
if you've se-
I
if you've
agree,
seen
but it's still bad.
if you've seen active combat, like some of
That's
the
fair.
Israelis
That's
have,
true.
I
Yeah,
guess.
and I think that's again. I know we're going to get into some specifics and some things here, but I think that for me, and just even seeing some of the comments, right, we talk about all the time, and then we see sort of echoed, knowing, all of us have family in Israel and all the connections there. It's really the last, I mean, 23, 24, 24, 25, 25, 26. Even though it's always in our hearts and minds, right? You've been playing and having seasons, a backdrop, right? A backdrop of events that are, in your words, right? Much bigger than what you're doing, right? In
Right.
some cases, a stupid game. In other cases, again, practice or whatever it is. How do you talk? Can you talk about sort of that balance, right? Both the I would say the personal, but also the professional sort of balance that for you and how that shows up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in general a very big perspective person. I believe in it a ton, and I think it's anything in life you have to have perspective. So you have a stressful or a bad day, you can always realize what kind of stressful or bad day somebody else is happening is having at that time. That could be 10 times or 1,000 times worse than what you're experiencing because something went wrong at home or something went wrong, whatever it is in a basketball game. And it's I think about it and I think about how I was telling somebody the other day. I think it was my partner at work. I was telling her the other day. I felt bad that I was so nervous going into the Farmingdale championship game, right? Because there were literally like there were sirens going off nonstop throughout. I got friends and family who are sitting in bomb shelters waiting for rockets to land, and I'm nervous about a basketball game. And it was like I couldn't stop. I still couldn't stop myself, even with that perspective. Like I couldn't stop myself from feeling the nerves and the anxiety because I cared about the result of the game. But I still had this feeling of guilt of why do I feel that way? Like that's, I shouldn't. It's silly with everything that's going on. Like literally hearing from my friend Aaron in Modi'in, who's watching our game in the bomb shelter. And or even this weekend, he called me to wish me good luck on, I think it was Saturday night on my way to the game. He called me. It must have been 3 in the morning, whatever time it was in the middle of the night there. They had sirens going off and he's calling me to wish me good luck, from the bomb shelter. He's like, yeah, at least I have something to do now while I'm in there. I'll watch the game. And I was like, I'm going to coach a basketball game. So, perspective is a really, really big thing. It's, I think, an important lesson for, for certainly for kids and for college, for college students as well, to learn about perspective. And there's no better opportunity to do it than through sports because these kids put their lives into it. It's extremely important to them. We have, I think, I guess some of our guys have that blessing of the fact that they either lived in Israel, live in Israel, or served in the army, so they kind of have a built-in perspective. It's kind of why you see when the Israeli guys go to the foul line and the game's on the line, there's no like nerves. They don't care. Like it's not a big deal for them. Like they've dealt with so many bigger things that it's fun. They enjoy that moment and they enjoy what it's about. And I think it's a good lesson for the other guys that are there to kind of see that, and to realize that, hey, this at the end of the day, this is a game. I work for a living. Like I'm not a full-time coach. Most people are, and I get why it's a lot more. It probably causes a lot more anxiety for some of the other coaches than it might for me. And they take it. I'm not going to say they take it more seriously. I'm extremely competitive, and I take it very, very seriously. But this is a passion for me. This is a hobby for me. My full-time job doesn't depend on it. If we lose a game, I'm not, I'm not losing my livelihood over it. And I like that perspective about it. I love that that's the way it kind of is in my life, that it's a secondary thing to an extent. As much as it's, a real passion and something that I love, it is a secondary thing. And I think it's something that is a good lesson for our guys because even if they do go play professionally afterwards, they're not doing it forever. At some point, they're going to be doing something that's, more important and bigger than basketball, whether it's in a professional or a personal life. And if you don't have a way of, understanding perspective on what's actually important, then you're kind of missing the point.
You allowed for it a little bit in the answer, but I think you allow for the place in that perspective to where there are going to be people. We got pictures, right, of people watching the game in bomb shelters, watching Israel baseball, meaning do you allow that to come into the narrative to understand that while it can be right sort of in your world or in the player's world, the game, for other people it takes on sometimes more meaning, gives them something to attach to. Is like you see that sort of being able to fit.
It definitely does, and it's it's an interesting thing. And by the way, they just went up 5-0 in the fifth inning, and they got to win this game to be able to stay.
They have to win this game,
relevant, yes, right, for the next time around. It's very
this
important.
Is the game they're supposed to win. Yeah,
this is the game they're supposed to, and they have to make sure that they stay. I think this way they automatically qualify next time around. I think it is important because it's something that we talked about after October 7th, and something we've continued to talk about since. It sounds stupid, but we hear it from so many different people in Israel who love watching our games. And, and it's not just in Israel, it's people in the Jewish communities here that are, in some ways suffering and, feeling the heat of anti-Semitism that's just been, kind of going off around the country in different places, whether it's college campuses or now kind of in some people's hometowns and different synagogues and all that kind of stuff. And, the opportunity to provide a little bit of entertainment and a little bit of distraction and a little bit of light with something that is mundane and something that is, for lack of a better term, stupid. And I know that it's not. I know that people find it. I know that it's important. It's important to me too. Again, perspective wise, it is stupid, right? It's just we're playing a game. So, it's awesome that something like that can, bring people together, give them something that they can take their mind off of a more stressful situation and, have the ability to be even if it's just entertainment, even if it's just something like, even if it's just for my buddy sitting in his bomb shelter in Modi'in to do for an hour and a half in the middle of the night because he can't
Right.
sleep because every 30 minutes, the stupid sirens are going off. It's worth it. It's good, and it gives us a different kind of a pull and a different kind of a message that's kind of coming that comes out of us playing. It makes it more important. That's what it does.
I pivot for a second because you mentioned Team Israel a couple of times, and I'm also watching them, and this is
Hell
something I
yeah.
wanted to definitely ask you about while we had you. It's like I still don't fully think we appreciate the moment that Jacob had in the
Mhm.
World Baseball Classic
It was
last time and striking
unbelievable.
out Machado and Pena and Sanchez and like that whole moment from like an Orthodox Jewish athlete, like living
Oh,
out
yeah.
every dream. It was so disappointing that he couldn't be in this one. I understand like he's, dealt with injuries last year and he's trying to work his way back. But can you give us like an update? Because I'm sure there's a lot of overlap with the people who watch the show and want to know like
Yeah,
what's
sure.
going on with Jacob. What's he up to right now?
Yeah, so he's in Arizona. He's in spring training. He obviously had the opportunity to go back and pitch again this year, but because like you said, because of the injury last year, Arizona was going to obviously keep keep close tabs on him this spring and make sure he was there for them to monitor kind of the throwing program and everything he's dealing with in the spring. He's good, thank God. He feels good, and threw his first bullpen, I think was Friday, or yeah, I think Friday was his first bullpen of the or full bullpen of the year, and looked good, felt good, and progressing. A couple of weeks later than everybody else because of just when they started him, they wanted to start him a little late, but he's on schedule in terms of from when he started. So thank God he's most importantly he feels good.
That's awesome.
Let's root for my buddy. I used to actually hang out with, I worked with Harrison Bader's mom. She worked at Sports Illustrated back when I was in the advertising thing. So I'm so happy he's on this team. He's been showing up in New York a lot over the years, but I expect some Bader bombs. I'm not sure if he's the one who went deep. I think he did in the other game.
I think he hit one yesterday, or whatever it was, yesterday,
Yeah,
2 days ago. Yeah, I think Saturday night. Yeah, last night. I think he hit one last
good
night.
dude from the Bronx.
Yeah, the other Harrison Cohn is the
Yeah,
kid to watch. He's a Long Island boy. I know him pretty well. He's a really really good kid. He used to work out a little bit with Jacob, but he's just an awesome kid who I think went undrafted and just worked his butt off to get himself signed. And now I think he's in AAA. I think he was in AAA last year, and he pitched really well. And I think he had a good outing in the game. Was it the other night or in the exhibition game? He had a good outing. But that kid can really throw. He's fun to
The
watch.
stats are off the charts. I looked at
Yeah,
them recently.
yeah, yeah. He's really good.
Maybe we'll see him with the Yankees this year.
God willing, that'll be
Um,
cool.
wanted to ask, so like we could go back to basketball. So what's your take on the team this year? Like a lot of the roster's the same as last year, but we talk in our chat, like even though we haven't done our show, our chat is very lively. Like with every Max game, we're all like locked in. It feels different. It feels, especially in the second half of the season, even versus the first half, but then the entire season versus prior, it seems like they're taking care of the ball better than they have in years. They're defending better, especially lately. Like, but the roster's like a lot of the same guys. What are you seeing as like the biggest difference, whether it's this year versus last or more recently, like that's working well, guys stepping up, like or like what is it that's caused it? Like what's your pulse on that?
I think there's two things. The first one is Yair Dovrat. I mean, the kid's just very, very special. He's a, super high IQ, obviously has good size. He can score at all three levels and just, you put the ball in his hands, he's generally, I'd say 95% of the time making a really, really good decision. The other 5% varies between an okay decision and maybe a mistake, but he's really just he's as good as he looks and as good as you guys are, throwing around on social media. He's next level, and I think he's made us a lot better. Second, and not any less important, is our guys have gotten a lot more mature. Not just over the course of the 4 years, but really over the course of this year even. We have, guys like Max and Zevy who have been around, obviously, who are, playing and understanding our offense at a completely different level than they did even a year ago. And I think the same goes for guys like Dotan and Roy who have been around, and Yoav, who, besides the fact that he's understanding our offense at a new level, he is now has this, kind of great connection with Yair. in terms of the way they kind of read and feed off each other, which has allowed us to do something that we haven't done in years, which is, add ball screen into our motion offense. People used to think that we're like allergic to ball screen offense. We're not. We just never had personnel like this. So as soon as we have personnel like this, we're able to kind of throw that into our motion and work off of it. It puts the ball in our best playmakers' hands and gives us Zevy on one side and Yoav cutting, rolling to the basket, and a guy with the ball who can either score, dish, or shoot. So it really put us in a good spot and made us a lot better. And I think the combination of those things has turned us into a completely different team than we were last year. And I think going on top of that, and I think this is more important than the other two, we're defending. And I mean like really defending. This is the best defensive team we've had, and it's not even close. And I know the Ryan and Gabe and Simcha team, those guys defended and they were great, and they may have been and time will tell, but they may have been a better team. They may not have been. Well, I leave that to everyone else to decide. But this team has the ability, because of the athleticism and the length, to defend at just a extremely high level.
Yeah, I think we were talking a lot about the ability to put Yair. I know it started a little bit of trouble, but the ability to put him on playmakers on the other team's offense because of his height and adjust their shooting, their driving, their dishing, whatever it is that they do well, and then adjust the defense. And also the help. The help just seems much quicker. Everyone knows where each other's going to be. There's some plays here and there they go, but like for the most part, you don't see people getting beat and the defense not there. It's really the impressive rotation. The defense has been, I think, what's driving the last 10 games has been significant. And even at the start of the season, in some of those bigger games, just the defense now feeling comfortable with it. It's been impressive. I say holding those two teams to under 70 is unbelievable.
Yeah, they both averaged close to 90 this year, so it was really I thought it was impressive of our guys to be able to do that. And look, there's a lot of versatility, right? Like you said, we can put Yair on a small guard, we could put him on a forward, we could put him kind of anywhere. And what it allows us to do is we'll play, a small guard, a terrific small guard like Matthias from Farmingdale, and we're putting 6'7" on him. And saying, hey, you're going to have to go to the bucket. We're not allowing you to shoot a three. And now he has to attack the bucket, and he wants to get into his pull-up game, or he wants to get into his around the basket game, and he's doing it against 6'7". And we have the same idea with Yoav, who as much as the same idea as Yoav, who as much as he is a big guy for us and a forward for us, he moves so well. His feet are so fast. We can put him on a guard, we can put him on a forward. We really can we can play him inside or outside defensively, and he has the ability to kind of be in both places and defend at a high level. And I think that was shown in the two games of the tournament so far, because defensively. I know he didn't have his best game offensively in the first game, Yoav, and he was great. And last night in the second game, he's been fantastic defensively, and he guarded two completely different players. He guarded 23 on Bates, who's their leading scorer, who's a tremendous player in the post with a nice mid-range game, and I think he held him to 8 points or 10 points or whatever it was, and just did a really fantastic job on him. And then he guarded 40. Who last night, who shoots 40% from three, averages 16 rebounds a game, and after the kid went off early and scored 12 points in the first 10 minutes, he didn't score the rest of the game. He went to the foul line.
His was unbelievable. Why I was going to ask specifically about it, you brought it up. Was that something that changed, or was just it just worked? I mean, like he scored 12 in 6 minutes, and then he didn't score again until he took free throws at the end of the game. But it was he makes his living. He had 25 and 21 the night before against Montclair, and they're not a big team, but he makes his living inside, and really Yoav was tremendous. I mean, really one of the keys to the game.
Yeah, I think a lot of it had to do with being able to kind of see them play in the first half, for our guys, and get kind of mentally adjust at halftime a little bit in the locker room, right? Because we're coming out of Shabbos, so we didn't have a film session. Our guys had never seen Maine Farmington play. We had a scout. They had an understanding of personnel. They knew that number 40 does X, Y, and Z, and that number 5 can do A, B, and C, but they never saw it. Bates, we had a film session on it. We spent an hour and a half going through every single player, every single tendency, what they're trying to run, so they can visualize it. Here, they were seeing, they read it. Yoav knows the guy can shoot the ball, but you don't really respect that extra step until you actually have a shot.
Release, how quick is really all those things.
Yeah. So I think a lot of that was just kind of something we knew was going to be a little bit of a disadvantage for us was the fact that we don't have a shoot around and an opportunity to walk through things on the floor on Shabbat, and the fact that we don't have a film session. Nothing we're not used to. We've obviously had it before, but that first half, you're hoping that, and that's where the defense comes in, right? Like you're good enough defensively, and especially in a game like that where our offense was clicking, we were more than good enough offensively to kind of keep yourselves in a situation where you can make adjustments without being down. Obviously, it was nice to go into the half up 13, made it a lot easier to make adjustments, and then we obviously came out and went on a run, which was great.
Coach, could you say a little bit more? First of all, hey, how you doing? Nice to see you. Could you say a little bit more about that scout report? Not necessarily the specifics, but I think a lot of people are wondering, that you prepare multiple scout reports, and then you get the news, whatever, Friday night, maybe, you're staying at the same hotel. But what does that actually look like practically? How are the guys kind of getting the scouts, studying it, talking it over?
So I mean, for the NCAA tournament, or I mean, for any game, obviously we're preparing a scout in advance. For the NCAA tournament, we're preparing all three scouts in advance. Um, Obviously, we're spending a ton of time on the first team that we're playing because none of them matter if you don't beat that team, right? You can spend all the time in the world that you want on Montclair State and Maine Farmington. If Max doesn't hit those foul shots, then we ain't playing those guys. So, you spend a lot of time obviously on that first team in terms of our walkthrough prior to the NCAA tournament. It's really all about Bates. The week leading up, we did practice certain things as if we might play Montclair or Maine Farmington. We did run through a few things without even telling the guys. Like we spent significant time working on our two different press breaks that we wanted to run against Montclair State because they press the entire game, and we spent some time in terms of defensively on stuff we wanted to work on with Maine Farmington, which happened to be similar to some of the stuff we were running with Bates. But we spent the bulk of our time on Bates. In terms of the scout itself, we'll prepare all three. So we'll have three different people working on the scouts with, myself and Ellie Katz really kind of running through all three at a certain point before we get to that spot, really more so Ellie than me. But I'll have most of my focus on the first game with a little bit of focus on the second game. And then we'll have, kind of two people who are fully focused on the other two teams. And so one guy is ready with a full scout for Montclair State. The other guy was ready with a full scout for Maine Farmington. We take a look at both of them just to kind of have an idea, and then once we find out, well, we really don't do it on Shabbos. We won't give out a scout on Shabbos, but we found out obviously because they were in the hotel, and obviously some of our guys knew. Your head starts to go obviously and spin regardless of whether you want it to. But then right after Shabbos, we text out the scout on WhatsApp on our team chat. We give out hard copies on the bus, and guys can go through it. In terms of what the scout looks like, we usually have it's really three main sections. So it's what they do offensively, and it's kind of a couple of paragraphs on what their goals are, what they're trying to accomplish, maybe what they run. If there's certain sets that we've talked about or walked through, then we'll reference those. It's what they do defensively. What we see, whether it's, if they play zone, if they play man, what kind of zone, how are they guarding man to man, what are they doing on ball screens, what are they doing on screens off the ball, are they switching, are they slipping, are they switching 1 through 5, are they only switching 1 through 4, are they sagging a guy in the paint, all those things that we've seen them do so that we kind of have what our, counter is within our motion on how we want to attack it. And then the third section is personnel. So it'll, list obviously each of their personnel, who's guarding that person to start the game, what their tendencies are. Are they a righty that prefers to go left? Are they a righty that only goes right? If they catch the ball on the post, which shoulder are they going to? Do we want to keep them off the 3-point line? Do we want to make them play off the bounce because they shoot a lower percentage off the dribble than they do when they catch and shoot? It's, all of those different kinds of tendencies for each of those players so that our guys can get an idea based on who they're guarding of what we're trying to accomplish.
That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, talking about that personnel, because I think one of the things that we've been talking about now for and you saw it right before your eyes, but probably not as surprised as some other folks were. In that personnel, we've seen Joe come into the game before Nate, most rotations. What was it, right? Was it part of the scout? Was it, we talked about Dovrat's foul trouble, the size of the fact that they're not a big team. What put him in and sort of gave you the inclination, or the staff the inclination that said this is a good spot for him? Let's see what happens here.
Honestly, it was gut. Like I had, for whatever reason, over Shabbos, I kind of had a thought that, depending on how Max felt, I knew he would try to play because he's a psycho. So I know,
That checks out.
yeah, exactly. So, but depending on
Well-known
how he,
sociopath.
yeah, depending on how he looked and how he felt, you know, him being out there in even hurt is very, very stabilizing for us. He guys are more confident when he's on the court. Whatever the reason is, that's the kind of leader he is. I guess off the court and it translates on the court. When he's on the court, there's just a comfort and there's like a just a I don't know. There's more confidence I think as a team when he's on the court. So him being out there has that sort of effect. You add to that the fact that he is a really really good basketball player who is extremely athletic, extremely quick, and is reckless with no regard for his own safety. And he becomes a real problem for another team. So with the injury, and him kind of not being as quick and not being as fast, you're taking away certain of those factors, and that's kind of what Nate's game's like, right? Like Nate is another kid who is reckless, who has no regard for his own, for his own health, and goes after it, and he's a tough kid who brings a ton of energy, and if you saw him play early in the year, it's funny, he's a guy who went from playing a ton to not really playing a lot, and then all of a sudden he's playing. And I've talked to him throughout the year. The reason he wasn't playing had nothing to do with his ability. The reason he wasn't playing is it's like a weird thing. He's a scorer. Like he can flat out score that kid. Like in practice, there are practices where he just dominates practice. And we just right now, like with what we're built with, we needed a little bit more role than we needed, like a dominant scorer. And he was, it was easier for him, I think, early on to kind of adjust that role. But as he got comfortable, he started to become a little bit more of that like ball dominant, ready to score role. And we needed to kind of like shift that back a little bit. And that's something that we've been working on, in practice, and he's gotten a lot better at. So he's been ready. Like it's not like he's, messing around in practice and not ready. Like that kid's ready to play every single day. So there was no like doubt in our minds as coaches that we could throw him into the game and we're going to get what we get when we put Nate in the game, which is 100 miles an hour and a guy who's going to be able to put the ball in the basket and is probably going to go like Josh Hart style and grab, a bunch of rebounds in the few minutes that he's in. It's just a
pogo
function.
stick, that kid. It's unbelievable.
It's
He
crazy.
goes up so quickly.
Yeah, it's so quick. It's not even a question of how high he jumps. It's a question of how quick he jumps.
I mean, as the Max #1 complete bandwagon fan, I had not even heard his name. So when you see this kid come on the floor, there was one point where he has the ball. He has the ball. I think it was like on the baseline near the hoop, and he just has this unbelievable footwork step through to a layup. And he like fakes three guys out of their pants. It was just incredible to see those kinds of skills from him.
Yeah, I mean, I get it because you guys haven't seen it much in games this year. We see it in practice all the time. So it's not, it's not so much of a surprise for us. It's more of like a, right guy, right time kind of thing. And like obviously, like, Joe's played a lot of minutes, Shanzer, and he's been awesome. And he's been like a kind of a perfect role guy for us. He'll come in, he'll make a couple of shots. He defends, he's got size, he's generally in the right spots. And him and Nate kind of like complement each other in an interesting way. And I think they're gonna, ultimately be very, very good for us, obviously together at some point, in the future, both of them being freshmen. But I thought last night's game, lent a little more towards, what we needed from Nate, specifically because, Max was, hobbled the way he was.
Can you talk
So,
a bit about the decision? Sorry, Simi. The decision to keep Dovrat out. He got two fouls pretty early, but it was still kind of surprised to see how long you kept him out for. I think,
yep.
a lot of people were kind of wondering about that decision. Obviously, it turned out it was the right one. I'm not
No,
challenging.
I mean it's not. No, it's not a right or wrong. Honestly,
Yeah.
it's a feel. Like I got a text actually today from a coach that I respect a ton, who I'm very close with, who he sent me actually his text messages during the game, criticizing that I was leaving Yair on the bench for 15 minutes, which I get. There are a lot of coaches that wouldn't. It's funny. I was sitting with my daughter before this started. We were watching the Emory Roanoke game from the other night, and both coaches left two different guys on with two fouls in the first half. All of them picked up their third foul before halftime.
So did Maine
Um,
Farmington, the
correct.
team you played, right?
Yes, but they also in a little bit of a different situation than us. They didn't have the same kind of depth that we do
Yeah.
right. Like we went to Dotan, who went in and knocked down two threes. They were going to guys who might be a little bit more of a drop off than we were getting with Dotan. But I'll tell you, I mean, my philosophy on it's been the same since I was coaching high school basketball. However long ago, 15 years ago. If you get two fouls in the first half, you're obviously coming out of the game at that point. Whether or not you go back in depends on the game. My goal is to not put you in. I do not want to put a guy in, and my guys hate it. I mean, I don't know if you saw Yair. You were there or not. Then if you saw Yair come off the bench, you could probably hear him in the few rows behind. He was like, "No, I don't want to sit for 14 and a half
15
minutes now."
We heard
Because he knew I'm not going to put him back in. It's the same reason when he gives up a three and he doesn't have his hand like fully up in the guy's face, he won't look at me the whole way down court because he knows if he catches my eyes, he's not going to get a good look back. So he's not a dumb kid. So yeah, I mean that is my philosophy on it. Is if you get that second foul in the first half, I'd like you to go into the second half. If you get your second foul in the first half, I want you going into the second half clean. Like I don't want you going into the second half thinking about fouls. I don't want you going in with any kind of foul trouble. I want you going in with two fouls, which in my view is having zero fouls at the beginning of the game. If the game goes a different way, then obviously we have to make a decision at a certain point. If that game suddenly goes where we're down seven, I got to put him back in because we need to make plays and the game's gonna get away. But if I feel like we're managing the game and it's a game that I feel comfortable that if we go into halftime up two, or even tied, that when I put my guys back in, we're gonna win by 20 or whatever it is, I'm leaving them out. And we've had that happen over the course of this year where both like Yair and Yoav and Max would get in foul trouble in a conference game, and we're struggling without them, and maybe it's a game that we feel we should win by double digits, and it's a 2 point game where we're down two, and I don't care. Like we'll go into halftime down two, we'll put those three guys back in, and we'll win by 20. And if they can't, then that's a bigger problem. And that's what we've done. Now, again, if we're playing an NCAA tournament game and it doesn't go the way it did the other night, and we don't suddenly go on that run, and Dotan doesn't hit a couple of shots, and then Max hits a three, right? And suddenly we're up double digits going into the second half. If instead it's the other way, and five gets hot earlier and starts banging threes, and we're finding ourselves in a hole, Yair's going back in.
I mean, to a certain
That's good to
extent.
know. So it's not like super strict. You're automatically benched for the half. You're managing the score, and the fact that you guys were up 13 at half, like there was no urgency to bring Yair back in.
Yeah, exactly. And then I know I can bring him back in now in that second half. He doesn't have to think about
It
his
feels
foul
good.
situation. We go on a run at that point, and we're up 21, and that's exactly what happened.
I mean, you guys, did you feel, I mean, it felt that way in the gym, but to look up and then say, okay, it was 35-34, and now we're on a 28-4 run, 63-38, like
it was the way we were scoring. Like you can get a feel sometimes. Like the Bates game, for example, like the Bates game, even when we went up 11, it never felt good because we were relying on Zevy being Zevy, and when we're relying on Zevy being Zevy, we can win those games because Zevy's Zevy, but it's never comfortable because it means we're not running our stuff, we're not efficient, and we're just relying on this guy being a hero, which he has been for us many times. When we're scoring the way we were scoring the other night, it's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
It's a matter of time. Like there's just too many guys. We're getting too many looks. Our offense was clicking. Guys were finding each other. We were getting that back cut. And even Zevy was getting pretty good looks. He just obviously I think the back to back got to him a little bit with Shabbos, and he just didn't have his legs exactly where he needed. But that's why he got teammates. And for us on a night where he gets 14 to get 92 is a pretty good thing.
It's unbelievable. It's almost it's we were talking before. It's a great confidence boost for the other team, right? For yourself. Like if you won this game the same way you win the Bates game, you feel great going into Emory, but you don't feel as great potentially in terms of every individual. Thinking about Emory, I just wanted to ask one sort of your perspective, guy. And so you may be starting to think about what is different about Coach Steinmetz going into 2020 Sweet 16 with the bus rolling before it's canceled, to what you think it's going to be like for you in your own head, thinking about sort of how you think about the game, rely on people, whatever your approach. Is it different, or do you really think it's still the same?
I mean, it's the same. I think it was different in that, with that team, they had we had probably gone we had won 29 games in a row at that point. So we were, I mean, this team's now at 16 in a row, so we should be feeling pretty good about them too. I don't know. There was something about that team in 2020 where we just kind of, I guess we rolled through those first two games so easily against two really, really good defensive teams. And, we looked unstoppable. We felt unstoppable. And I think that was kind of what the feeling was going into Randolph-Macon, that we just, we were going to put up a big number and we were going to be in pretty good shape. I think, going into Emory, there's definitely confidence. I don't know that we're going in with the same sort of like feeling like we're going to roll guys over, but this is also, could be hindsight too, right? It's like it's very easy to feel like that when you didn't have to play the game. Like we were still going to Randolph-Macon and they were the best defensive team in the country, and they got Buzz who could flat out score and play, and you think from watching film and practicing that you're going to be able to do everything you need to do to win that game. We're going to feel like that when we go to Emory too. But I mean, they got two guards who could be playing Division One. They got a big kid who could play. They got another big kid who shoots 35% from three. Like they're the second best team in the country, or number two ranked team in the country for a reason. Like they're really, really good. Like I said in the press conference the other night, I think we're really good too. But it's definitely going to be obviously a challenge.
I mean, we're obviously going to destroy them by 700 points, but other than that ironclad reality, this is a very, very tough team.
Yeah.
You know, I suppose as we wind down here, I'm curious why you and the Max are famous for that long win streak. I think this year the talk has all been about the losses. And that is a testament to the strength of schedule that you've put together, which I think is the biggest factor in this team's success, other than the guys themselves. What loss this year do you feel helped prepare you most, or this team the most, for its success right now?
Tufts, by far Tufts. Yeah, I mean it was Mary Washington and Tufts together, but really Tufts. We were up 20 in that game with like 9 minutes left, and if you watch, like it was a 4 minute stretch where we just like for I would say 32 out of the 40 minutes of that game, we executed the hell out of our stuff on both sides. Like we were great. There was a 4 minute stretch in the second half, like literally just a 4 minute stretch where we just stopped doing what we do. And we went into a little bit of, we stopped ball reversal, we started getting on the dribble a little too much, quicker shots turned into fast breaks. It was like all the things we had in our scout that we didn't want to do, we did for 4 minutes, and that's all it took. Because a team that's that good, and they're in the Sweet 16, right? They're really, really, they were number four in the country. I think when we played them, I think they're top five now, maybe top seven, whatever they are. All it took was 4 minutes. That's all they needed was us to make mistakes for 4 minutes of that game when we were basically perfect for like 32. Then the last few minutes of the game, they have the advantage, right? Because they were the bigger, better team at that point. And I think that was a big lesson for our guys in terms of how important it is not just to obviously compete, for 40 minutes, right? That you can't just shut down. You got to compete for 40 minutes. It's the concept of when you play teams like this, they will expose your mistakes. They always will. And that's why these games are so important. That's why I play them. It's why, like, I don't care. I'll take losses early in the season. That loss, at the end of the day, I get it. If we win that game and we win the Mary Washington game and we win the Illinois Wesleyan game, and all those games were 1 point games, right? Or one possession games, right? Either overtime, double overtime, or the Illinois Wesleyan game, with I don't know what the hell you call that one. But all those games were something where we found a way to lose the game at the end. We win all those games, we're a one, right? We're a 1 seed probably. Maybe we're a high 2 seed, and you're in a different position. But we didn't. So once we don't, we got to win our conference anyway, and you might as well have gotten better from those games. Whereas if we went and played some random, lower level teams that are, let's say, in the 200 to 300 range in MPI, they get us nothing in terms of reward if we win. They don't make us better. We can make all the same mistakes we made against Tufts for probably 32 minutes and just play 8 minutes well and win the game. Then we're not getting better. So then we go and we play Bates, who's an SCAC team that's really, really physical, really, really good. We don't play our best game at all, but we're battle tested. Like we've lost that game already this year. We've lost that game 8 times this year.
Mm-hmm.
So we found a way to win it this time. And then we go play a Maine Farmington who has just knocked off the number 10 team in the country, and they're playing with a lot of confidence and they're shooting with a lot of confidence, and they played good ball all year. They have a better record than we do. They blew out everybody in their conference. They won their conference tournament games by like 30. And we're just not phased because we've played them already. Like not them specifically, but we've played in those games. We've lost those games already. We know now what we need to not do to lose those, to win those games.
It really is an incredible story this year to see what you guys are doing. You've been so generous with your time. We really thank you so much. This is an incredible season. Can't wait for it to continue. We got our work cut out for us, but
We do.
hoping for success. Coach Elliot Steinmetz, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you guys. Really appreciate it. It's so good to see the band back together.
Let's
Yeah,
go,
you can see
baby.
we had Rabbi Star on before. You can guarantee that Atlanta is going to show up and show out
That's
for
awesome.
the
Yeah,
YU Max.
they have been amazing. I've heard from so many people there
They're
already in the
incredible.
last like 24 hours. They're awesome. I'm excited. We're excited to go.
Unbelievable. Let's go. Can't wait. Coach, thank you so much.
You got it,
Go
guys. See
Team
ya.
Israel and the
Yeah, man.
people.
Let's
Yes,
do it.
sir. You guys, we did it! Unbelievable. Shouts to Simi for really putting together so much of what made this episode awesome. Coach Steinmetz, Dovie Neuburger. Shouts to Natan for putting together Rabbi Star. Shouts to Shmoo for first appearance on the Balabatim, absolutely crushing it this year. The most really like one of the most value add guys in the Balabatim chat now. This has been awesome. I mean, I guess we may as well go predictions. Uh, you know, I actually am worried to do this, but if we don't want to do like predictions, final score, final thoughts, guys, on what's gonna go down in this Emory game. Nathan, you want to get us started?
Yeah, listen, I agree with Coach. I think it's so important to be battle tested against teams that you're going to face later on. I really think that you're going to see that play out. You're going to see a confident team. I hope everybody is healthy, but even if not, I think you're gonna see. I think you saw us play some two really good teams hold our own. Emory, yeah, they're another level, but they're also another basketball team. I can see. We're going to be playing the other way around, meaning we need to have the lead and make them think the way Roanoke did. Right, Roanoke was a free throw away from winning that game. That's where I think we're going to be. We're going to play that way. Where we're going to just stay with them, and we know that we can go on a 10-0 run. We can go on a big run if we get down a little bit. That's what we're going to have to keep pushing through, and I think that's the mentality. And seeing these guys play, I know they have that mentality. That's the other beautiful thing about Israelis, and in terms of there's no lack of confidence, right? So it doesn't matter where we are in the game. They're going to keep pushing. So I really think YU is going to beat this game, and they're going to take it with a strong finish. They may scare people with an overtime before Shabbos, but I think they're going to put it away.
Sim, what do you got for us?
I mean, I know a lot about YU and I know nothing about Emory besides for what I'm hearing, and they sound really scary, but like we haven't lost in how many months at this point, and we can play with anyone. We know that. So what am I going to actually pick against them? No. Like we know that they're not phased. They're going to all show up and play hard. Zevy's going to have a full week of rest. I mean, I'm excited to see him get going. Um, I think we're going to have a good game. I do. We've had so many good games. Like all the last few games have come down to the last couple of minutes or possessions. I think that type of thing will happen again. And then at that point, it's anyone's game. And I think we've given enough away early in the year to know how to not do that now, as Coach kind of said. So I think we're gonna pull through in a close one.
Shmoo, take us home.
I think the Atlanta community will show up. I think the Max will rise to the occasion. I think it will be a really close game. I hope it goes our way, but I definitely think it'll be closer than the numbers the computer suggests. And the computer has been wrong about the Max virtually every game this entire season, with one or two exceptions. And I think it's going to be an awesome game, and we're going to show that we could compete.
Listen, guys.
Ari, what does Zevy love to do Erev Shabbos?
No.
Cook. And that's
Yeah, let's go.
That's what Zevy's going to do Erev Shabbos. He's going to cook.
Let's go.
That's what we're going to all experience.
Listen, guys, I want you to know I've run the numbers. I've done the analytics. I have gathered all the stats. And what I can tell you definitively is that this is a YU romp. We're sending them back home with a 180 point victory, 10 times high. With all respect to the Q line and friend of the show, Bob Quillman, this is an absolute YU slaughter. Very excited for some Erev Shabbos challenge. Let's rock and roll. Guys, thank you so much. Thank you so much to the entire Ball Habatim crew. We'll see you guys next time. Go Max.
Go Max.